I'm proud of you lot. You're my family. The men who helped me slaughter the Starks at the Red Wedding. Yes. Yes. Cheer. Brave men. All of you. Butchered a woman pregnant with her babe. Cut the throat of a mother of 5. Slaughtered your guests after inviting them into your home. But you didn't slaughter every one of the Starks. No. That was your mistake. You should have ripped them all out, root and stem. Leave one wolf alive, and the sheep are never safe.
Riding their dead horses. Hunting with their packs of pale spiders big as hounds. It's your hosts, Sir Duncan the Fearsome and Lady Rachel of House Fox. You're listening to Game of Microphones.
Well met, faceless Freys and lurking grayscale arm grabbers, and welcome to Game of Microphones. I'm Lord Sterling, Sir Duncan, Precious Metals protagonist.
And I'm Lady Rachel of House Fox, Barbarian of Baking.
And this is episode 103.
On this episode of our series Rewatch, we're covering Game of Thrones, the season 7 premiere, Dragonstone.
And in case you're not already aware, this series Rewatch is from the perspective of someone who's current on the show. That means you've seen up through season 7. If not, there's still time to raise a glass of poisoned wine in a toast to the horrible sins of your past and drink deeply so you don't have to hear these spoilers.
Warning.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Season 7 is here.
We're here. Oh my God. I can't believe
and
it.
Does not disappoint. I love this episode. How about you?
I do too. I just get chills. Like everything's elevated. Like their costumes are elevated. The cinematography is elevated. The CGI is elevated. Like you can just tell that this show has an extremely robust budget.
Robust. Yeah, that's a good description for it, for sure.
And creative too. I mean, the costumes in this episode are unreal.
Yeah, totally. What really stuck out to you? Which one? Or ones?
I love Sansa's. I think she's really become a woman in front of our eyes. So, I mean, Sophie Turner in general is just extremely stunning. And that red hair against that black with that chain. And I don't know, she just looks really good. And honestly, I have to give a shout out to Cersei.
Oh, yeah.
I love her dress.
The armored shoulder pads.
I can't get over how amazing she looks in it with the short hair and the, oh man.
It looks like there's like plate armor inside of her whole torso piece that she's wearing there too.
Yeah, and the leather, the detail in the leather. I mean, even like little Lady Lyanna Mormont looks amazing. They've just outdone themselves.
Yeah, I was so busy taking notes that I didn't really immerse myself in the details of the clothing this episode. I'll have to pay attention to that as we move forward.
Yeah, everybody's elevated. I mean, like even down to Missandei, and nice. Tyrion has a new like leather outfit.
I love
black.
Dany's outfit. Oh,
yeah, she looks pretty incredible. Great. Nothing beats that white jacket she wears at the end of this season.
Oh, the fur.
Yeah, like I love what she's wearing now, but
yeah, I've
her
seen
wardrobe
some
just
amazing
gets better.
replicas of that cosplayers have worn. That fur jacket from the end of the season.
If I had a fur jacket like that, I would wear it every day, even in the summer. I feel like I'm that person.
Hilarious.
So yeah, What did you think?
Oh man, just so many good things in this episode. It was hard to pick a top 5 for me.
Me too.
How about we jump right into it? What's your number 5, Lady Rachel?
My number 5 is the beginning of the scenes at Winterfell. So like Jon talking to like the entire crowd up into Sansa kind of battling with him. And then it actually goes into the kind of what I would dub their resolution. Because I think that whole flow is really important for the dynamic that we're going to see, I think, in season 8 with Sansa and Jon.
Definitely.
So we're up, and I love that we finally get a glimpse of Jon at the high table. He talks to Melisandre about this high table, that it's very special to him. Like he always saw his family up there, and now he's like the head of that table. So I thought that shot was important. Sansa looks amazing. Her hair it's literally on fire. It's like, I know we've talked a lot about the lighting up in the north, that kind of like grayish hue that they have.
Yeah, how they sort of desaturate everything, and it's very bleak looking, yet Sansa's hair glows.
On fire. And so we meet Alice Karstark. Her hair is on fire too.
True. Lit up.
Those redheads, man.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. And Johnny Stitches is in redhead heaven out there somewhere.
Yeah, so Jon is addressing all of the Northern Lords about mining and finding dragon glass to turn it into weapons.
Good
and
plan.
Explaining kind of why they need that. And
he's on point.
Basically, the entire population needs to fight. Ages 10 through 60, boy or girl, it doesn't matter. And Lord Glover is a little bit taken aback when he said, like, the girls fight too. He's like, I'm not going to put a spear in my granddaughter's hand. Like, are you kidding? And freaking little Lyanna Mormont, she's like, I don't intend on knitting by the fire while men fight for me. Like, and you do not have authority over me, like, to tell me if I can or cannot fight for the North. Like, you don't have that right to tell me.
Totally. She pwns him so hard too.
I was just like, damn. Oh my God. I love it. And I love that Sansa smiles at this sentiment.
Oh yeah, totally. Sansa and Brienne both watch sort of in wonder and proudness as little Lady Lyanna dominates.
We do get a camera shot of Brienne when Jon says the girls are going to fight too. She's like, yes, like finally.
And right when little Lady Lyanna says, and I don't need your permission to defend the North. And then it cuts to Sansa and Brienne and they're both smiling.
Yeah, and so does Davos.
Yeah, Davos smiles too. Yeah.
I really think that Lyanna is reminiscent of Shireen.
It's got to like soothe his wound a little bit of losing Shireen.
They're the same age, if I'm not mistaken, or very close to the same age, and they're both very fiery and stubborn.
Yeah.
And Davos calls Shireen stubborn at one point earlier in the series. He goes, "You're stubborn like your father." Damn the both of you, you know, they're like, you're relentless essentially. And I feel that same kind of vibe from little Lyanna Mormont.
Triple L.
Yeah.
She's the best.
So Jon drops the bomb on the North that the wildlings are going to be the new Night's Watch.
Yeah. They're going to augment or supplement the force that's manning the wall. And
yep. So he's sending them to Eastwatch by the Sea. So this is we've heard of Eastwatch before because that's where
was it Othel Yarwick?
No, I think he was going to send Janos Slynt there. Right. So now we know though that it's by the ocean, so we kind of get an idea of where it is on the wall. And I love Tormund here. He's like.
He's so badass.
Like, we're the Night's Watch now.
Yeah, he's ready for anything. He's just laughing about it because that is so funny. They've spent so much time fighting the crows and, battling these people that have been trying to keep them out. And now they're going to be filling the role that the crows had been, functioning as for thousands of years, essentially. The irony, right?
Totally. So we find out that kind of a little bit more geography. So I know we get the map every time in the opening credits, but we don't go over all of the houses. So the Carhold and the Last Hearth, we know that they're very far north, but like, where do they land on the map? So we kind of start getting a sense that these castles are the closest to Eastwatch by the Sea. Mm-hmm. And
John seems to have singled out Eastwatch by the Sea as a potential attack point for the Night King due to its location in proximity to Hardhome, right?
Yeah, it'd be like their first contact with the wall. Right. Like as far as, where they are geographically. If they were at Hardhome, they're coming this way. So they're going to hit Eastwatch first. So why not, try there? And if that doesn't work, maybe he's thinking they'll work their way down. Mm-hmm.
And it's also important to note that John is talking openly about the army of the dead to the Northern Lords here, Yeah,
I think he gave them a big reality check last episode when he's like, our enemy is not going to rest and wait out the storm. Like right. He brings the storm. Like this is a legitimate situation. Like I've fought them. Multiple people have fought them. And I'm sure word is getting around, I'm sure that there's been murmurings and
yeah, it has to be.
John doesn't sound like a crazy person. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's pretty even keeled and
very even keeled, I'd say.
Yeah, and steady.
As we see with how he deals with houses Umber and Karstark.
Exactly. So I think people trust him, that he's not like, why would he be wigging out about this? Jon Snow be wigging out about this? Like he could have just stayed Lord Commander at the Night's Watch or left and not gone anywhere at all. But the fact that he's trying to unite the North to fight against the army of the dead, there's truth behind that whole situation.
He really does see the bigger picture. And as far as mentioning how he deals with those other houses as well, he sees the wisdom in mercy and unity. And I like that part.
Yeah, me too. And so we get Lord Royce coming in from left field. He's like, let's tear those castles down. Like those are traitors. Like leave no stone unbroken. And it's like, what?
Yeah, that's crazy
why
talk.
Would you go bashing castles? And I love Sansa. She's like, the castles didn't commit any crimes.
Yeah, beautiful.
It was the people in the castle.
Yeah, and she's like, we should give those castles to loyal families who supported us against the Boltons. And I'm like, yeah, good thinking, Sansa.
It is good thinking. Idea. Yeah, and I like kind of where they're both coming from. Mm-hmm. Very different.
Yeah, it's like Sansa's idea is good. I just think Jon's idea is better.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think Jon's point is much stronger, especially in the situation that they are in right now.
Right, definitely.
Maybe if they didn't have the Night King kind of looming in the north and they just,
maybe if unity wasn't utmost importance.
Exactly. And Jon knows that if he starts ripping castles away from ancient families, that, people are going to lose faith in him pretty quickly as the king in the north.
Right. Who's secure.
Exactly.
I like that sentiment. He's like, I'm not going to strip these families of their ancestral homes because of the crimes of a few reckless sons. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
It's true. And I think the Karstarks are related somehow to the Starks, if I'm not mistaken, historically.
Yeah, they're a semi-ancient offshoot of House Stark, House Karstark.
And I think that's why they made Alice a redhead, but I found that so she resembled Sansa a little bit.
Oh, interesting.
But I found that funny because Sansa gets her red hair from the Tully line, not the Stark line. The Starks are
true. That's funny.
And we actually get that a little bit here. So Ned always wore his hair half up, half down, half of it pulled back, the top half pulled back, and the bottom half down.
Yep.
We see Jon wearing it like this. We've seen him wearing it for, I think, a season or two at this point. But we see Arya wearing it like that too this episode.
I love Arya back in Westeros, man.
Me too. She looks like such a badass.
She's so cool. Yeah, really exciting.
Yeah. So Sansa's really kind of arguing with Jon at this point, and I think she's frustrated because she had a huge role to play in the Battle of the Bastards. While she kept it a secret and all that stuff, which I don't agree with, she basically won that battle for them. Her last name is Stark, and she just kind of gets passed over by a brother that, while she's really happy to see and happy to be around, they've had a strained relationship most of their lives.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think there's a little power struggle going on here, of how much leeway is Jon going to give Sansa, kind of channeling the Stark name through his sister.
And how much leeway is he going to give these houses? She says, like, so what? So there's no punishment for treason now and no reward for being loyal?
And you can totally get where she's kind of coming from here, because this is the traditional way. But Jon has seen the bigger picture. He's seen the army of the dead. Sansa hasn't.
Right.
He knows that this bickering and lack of trust and starting to pull these cards and take away ancient rights is, rights to houses or, castles. That's not the way to go about defeating the real threat.
And the conversation is even more intense as we learn that Alice Karstark and the little Umber kid, what's his name?
John or Ned.
Ned Umber, is that they're in the hall while they're discussing this, potentially losing their castles for leaving their families out.
And they're like young kids too. So it might be a little bit easier for Jon to swallow if it came down to it, if they were like grown ass men and women, but like, he's like super young.
Yeah, exactly. And think about it like this.
He's 10 years old.
Like this basically is like saying that children shouldn't be responsible for the sins of their fathers, that whole that whole argument. And like, why should the children have their homes taken away because their fathers made some bad decisions? You know what I mean?
That same sentiment is echoed when Dany and Jon meet for the first time.
Right. It is.
She asks him to not judge her by the wrongdoings of her father. And, I like that idea.
Yeah. And the same thing last episode when she's meeting with Theon and Yara and Tyrion, obviously the same thing. They all basically agree to not judge each other based on their horrible father's actions. Right.
Yeah.
Which is pretty funny.
Jon, he goes, well, he's trying to make it so they both seem kind of like he's trying to like get on the same page with his sister in front of this huge crowd. And he's getting frustrated and she's getting frustrated. And he's like, look, they died on the battlefield. Small John Umber died on the battlefield. Harold Karstark died on the battlefield.
Yeah, death is the punishment for treason and they've paid the price.
So they died anyways. And this is Sansa with the old way kind of just mold in her mind. Like, they betrayed our house. Like, their house betrayed our house. It's not about individuals.
This is like kind of like Cersei influence, I would say. Just like burn them to the ground.
And this is actually why it's my number 5. My number 5 is a little long today, because this is when we go up to the battlements, like the walkway, is where we get the line where she says, I learned a great deal from her.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's not surprising now that Sansa's in a powerful role for her, education coming kind of and unfolding in her personality. She's able to show it versus being meek and scared and playing the victim.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate that she's sort of shown that she's created a disagreement in a public scenario like that. That's what Jon's upset about as well.
Exactly.
It's just like you're talking about being a parent, you need to provide a united front to override the will of a 2-year-old. Same thing happens with here, basically being king or lord of a castle and presiding over the group. Page. Yeah, presiding over the northern lords. Yeah, they need to be on the same page. Exactly.
Yeah, because 2-year-olds are relentless. If they see a chink in your armor, they're going to go for it.
Yeah, and Glovers are relentless too, as we've learned from the past couple episodes.
They certainly are. So Sansa's kind of arguing, well, they died on the wrong side of the battlefield. And, Jon's like, look, I've executed people who betrayed me, who refused to follow my orders.
I love invoking Ned here with that quote.
Yes. A man who passes the sentence should swing the sword.
Yes.
And he's tried to live by that. And he really has.
Yeah, he has.
He's done a good job at it. But I'm not going to punish a son for his father's sins.
Ah, yeah. He says it. Right. I forgot he said it here. Yeah.
I'm not going to take a family home. It's centuries old. Like, we're not talking about like a new house, like taking Winterfell away from the Boltons or River Run away from the Freys. We're talking about descendants of the first men.
Totally.
Like their stronghold.
It's not taking Harrenhal from Baelish or something.
Exactly. You're digging really, really deep. Yeah. Into a place that you don't really want to go in the north, especially because they're loyal.
Right. A couple bad eggs and ruining it for everybody.
Exactly. So he goes to Sansa basically like, that is my decision, and my decision is final. Again, like what we do with our 2-year-old.
Right. Totally.
Like, shut up.
And I'm like, wow, Jon is like a king right now. You know what I mean? Like, that's fucking wild.
You can tell he's very uncomfortable talking to her like that, though.
Yeah, he is.
Even though he has to in this situation, because I truly believe what his way is the right way in this situation.
And I gave him props too for doing it. Like, I was like, good for you. Like, even though he was so uncomfortable, he rose to the occasion and did what he thought was right and stood up for justice.
Yeah. And so this is when we discover that little Ned Umber and Alys Karstark are in the building.
Yeah, he calls them forth. Oh my God.
And I was like, oh damn, they're like young too, you know?
Yeah, just the revelation that they were there like blew my mind, like that they're discussing these dire consequences.
Especially as a first time viewer, like we saw small Jon Umber. I mean, he wasn't like necessarily a young guy.
No.
But like he could have had a brother like close in age or an uncle, like an old uncle to take his place. But no, it's like this little 10-year-old boy. And you're like, how could you take his home away from him?
Right.
Because of something his dad did.
Yeah, totally.
Like he has no control over that. Now, if he was 33 and was agreeing with his father and plotting like alongside his father, sure. I mean, I would maybe consider taking it away.
Mm-hmm. But I think Jon was right in his judgment here.
So he's basically making them repledge their houses as the Stark's bannermen.
Yes.
So he's making these young kids, these impressionable kids, re-swear the oath to House Stark, which has honestly kept faith for thousands of years.
Totally.
It was just a little blip on the map.
Yeah, and this is typical for this type of scenario too, where when you become king, you call for your bannermen basically to pledge their loyalty to the new king and to you to like affirm existing relations and stuff.
So he has them swear, and they kneel and they unsheath their swords and put them in the stand, and you know basically they take the vow now and always. And people cheer to that. They're like, yeah, that's a good call.
Yeah. You know? And it made me think of that moment in Napoleon Dynamite. Always and forever.
Always and forever.
Oh my God. Oh man.
Such a proud moment.
So this is we cut up to the walkway, and this is kind of where my number 5 kind of ends, is their conversation. And Jon is pissed. He's like, you cannot undermine me like that in front of people. You know, and she's like, well, what? We can't question your decisions. And he's like, I'm not even saying that, you crazy person. Like,
right.
I'm just saying,
it's more about the public
question my
thing.
Authority in private. Yeah. And she compares him to Joffrey.
Yeah.
I was like, damn. Like, what the hell?
And yeah, she's being a little snarky too. She's like, will you start wearing a crown? You know, and he's like, you're my sister, but I'm a king now, you know? And I was like, yeah, he probably should start wearing a crown. You know,
don't
like,
you want him to wear a crown?
Right,
like,
yeah, exactly. But yeah, when he's like, you're comparing, like, do you think I'm Joffrey? You know, and she looked like she realized
kind of catches herself here.
Yeah, she realized she fucked up, and he was kind of offended.
She just took it a little too far, you know.
Yeah, totally.
But in fairness to Sansa, look who she's been around.
Oh, yeah, for
Joffrey
sure.
tormented her. Ramsay tormented her. Littlefinger, as in a creepily weird way, tormented her too. So I think that's her initial reaction, is maybe to get defensive now, especially because she feels safer with Jon.
Right.
And I think she realizes pretty quickly after she says that was inappropriate. And
she changes tactics, starts buttering him up.
Yeah, I was gonna say she does a 180 here, and she's like, "Well, you're actually really good at ruling."
That's pretty funny.
You know, they really respect you, but
he laughs.
Why are you laughing? And he goes, "You know, Father used to say everything before the word but is horseshit."
That's 2 Ned quotes in one episode from Jon. Epic.
So he's certainly channeling his father.
Yeah, he is. It's great. He's in that mindset.
He's trying to be that person.
That lord. Yeah, he's trying to, get in his dad's headspace to do the job he needs to do and be honorable. And
because he was never groomed to be lord.
Right,
and
right.
He was also the Lord. I mean, although he was the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, I mean, when he took the Black, he never expected to be the ruler of the Winterfell.
Yeah.
the Lord of Winterfell and King in the North.
Yeah, totally. I wouldn't say he's the Lord of Winterfell. He is the King in the North, but I would say Sansa is the leader of Winterfell, right? Yeah.
That's true.
So it's
That's
weird.
true.
It's like we have a king who doesn't have a palace. Think about that. How weird is that? Where is his seat of power? Operating from Winterfell, where he's not the Lord?
I guess so.
It's pretty interesting,
or Dragonstone at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although they're on their way back to Winterfell.
Yeah, true. Oh, man. So exciting. I can't wait till a new season.
We see Maester Wolken again.
This is the guy who Ramsay stabbed Roose in front of, right?
Yeah, so I think he's probably a little relieved that he has the Starks, and the Starks are nice people.
He got lucky.
He certainly did.
Yeah, survived that shit.
Before we move on, so I forgot to mention that Sansa says you have to be smarter than Father, than Robb. I love them, I miss them, but God damn it, they got their heads chopped off. You have to be smart.
It's an intense moment. Jon is sort of walking away, and she grabs his arm and turns him towards her and says to him, you have to be smarter than they were. And it's true. Ned telegraphed his actions to Cersei, got himself killed. Robb fucked up and allowed he didn't stay focused on the operation, got distracted by romance and lost the Frey alliance, got himself fucking murdered. Jon needs to be better than them, and Sansa this is a really important moment for her, I think, trying to get him to wake up a little. She's kind of
pleading with him, would it be so terrible to include me and listen to me? Let's do this together. Kind of like what you just said. I'm the Lady of Winterfell and you're the King in the North. We kind of have to do this together. Mm-hmm. So we need to get on the same page. And I think it's kind of her olive branch, because she, apologizes. I think in the last episode to him about not telling him about the Lords of the Vale.
This is important too. Just equating him with Ned and with Robb. She's essentially equating Jon with the Stark males, which is
exactly
inclusive, looking at him like a family member and being like, you have to be even better than them.
So I think it's kind of her olive branch a little bit. Would it be so terrible if we did this together?
Yeah.
Can I trust you and can you trust me? Can you listen to my ideas and counsel? Because if anyone's been groomed to sit this seat at Winterfell, it's not Jon Snow.
Right.
It's Sansa.
She mentions how Ned had never told her that everything that comes before but is horse shit, right? And yes. Jon tells her, he never cursed in front of the girls. And Sansa is kind of upset about that, because she says he was trying to protect us. He never wanted us to see how dirty the world really was. But he couldn't protect me, and neither can you. And
stop trying.
Yeah, I felt like she's a little bit mad at Ned, and she was overprotected and ended up getting dumped headfirst into the deep end of the world with no warning, and a little bit overwhelming, to say the least.
Definitely. So we get the Raven from King's Landing, and it's basically Cersei summoning Jon to King's Landing. Like, why the fuck would he go? She knows that, and so basically she's calling him a traitor.
Yeah, he's being summoned to kneel. You know, come to King's Landing, bend the knee, or suffer the fate of all traitors. Which is basically like, I'm gonna cut off your head like I cut off your dad's. Yeah, and it's funny too. All these blonde queens trying to get Jon to bend the knee. What have they like been talking to Ygritte or something? Yeah, they're like, we got to get Jon back on our side. These redheads are taking over. Well, Ygritte would, have Jon bend the knee for a different reason, right? Oh, damn. That's where I was going with that. All these queens trying to get Jon to bend the knee. They know about the Lord's kiss. Got it. And Sansa's like, fuck. We've been so consumed with the Night King, we forgot about Cersei. Yeah, good point. And that's a big deal to Sansa because she knows what she's capable of. I wonder if they know that the Sept of Baelor has been blown up. Be curious. I know those soldiers in the Riverlands know. They mention it to Arya. And Jaime knows about how the Freys are all dead in King's Landing. So word is getting around about various things. I bet that they know that the Sept has been destroyed at this point. Yeah, so I think that worries Sansa because basically this is why I think that they know is because she goes, anyone that's ever crossed her or like tried to go up against her, she's found a way to murder. Yeah. Like she even like blew up like an ancient building. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. If she didn't know that the Sept had been destroyed, she wouldn't be saying that because Marjorie Tyrell would still be alive. The High Sparrow would still be alive. But all these people who've crossed her in one way or another, they're all dead. Yeah. So this is where we get the, you almost sound as if you admire her. And Sansa goes, I learned a great deal from her. Intense. Oh, God. Sansa, I think she's going to be a force in season 8. And hopefully, you can't deny that Sansa has learned a lot from Cersei about strategy and tactics and just about the world in general. And hopefully Jon will end up learning the truth of that Sansa knows this type of stuff, has learned this type of stuff. She's been listening this whole time. Yeah, exactly. And hopefully she can put that knowledge to use. She's played the role of a stupid girl, a stupid fleeting girl, which I think she was when you first meet her. But I think that very quickly turns as early as season 1. She's like, I have to continue to play this passive role until I'm safe. That is a good point. Which she is now. She's back at Winterfell. So now we see what she's learned. Yeah. What she's been paying attention to. I think we're going to get a lot of that in season 8. I hope so. Yeah. It'll be good to see her putting that knowledge to use. Definitely. Really exciting. How much of an influence like Littlefinger is on her and how much of an influence Cersei has been and how much of it's Sansa, like really Sansa or her just portraying these two major chess players of Game of Thrones. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see their capabilities with Sansa's morality. Yeah, definitely. Well, that's my number 5. I know it was super long, but I felt it was just a really important, couple scenes to tie together because of the two characters that it involves. Yeah, and it's our first time seeing Jon as king in the North, which is just super exciting. Love it. Yeah. Do you have anything else you want to add? I think that pretty much covers it pretty well. Nice. So what's your number 5? My number 5 is Winter Has Come for House Frey. Okay. This is my number 2. All right. So let's collab. Nice. You take it away. So we get the cold open for the episode and the episode starts. Another cold open. Yeah, totally. We got the Hound and we got Arya. And interestingly, we got cold openings for both of those characters who are in big with the Lord of Light and like have a connection between each other too, right? So true. They're as they each sort of are reborn in Westeros, like what the Hound beginning his new life essentially, and then Arya returning as a faceless man. We're getting these two cold opens for each of these characters. It's got to be important. They both got to be playing a big role. I remember being a little confused when this cold open opened. I thought we were looking into the past. I thought it might be a flashback. Right. Because Walder died at the end of season 6.
Yes.
So we see the camera starts out looking at his waist and pans upward, and we see Walder Frey standing there, and and we're like, oh, is this a flashback?
I was a little confused. I was like, this must be a flashback. And I knew that up to this point, the show has not used flashbacks except for Hodor. Yeah. And mostly the Hodor. I guess the Tower of Joy too.
Yeah.
All of Bran's visions for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I think I pretty much knew like immediately, I was like, oh my God, it's Arya.
You did? Yeah, see, I didn't even that wasn't even on my radar.
Yeah, I think it was like.
She said that she was going home, but we didn't see her go home. So.
No, we saw her at House Frey, remember? Slitting Walder's throat at the end of last episode.
Oh, that's right. Never mind. See, I always juxtapose
those two.
Walder Frey dying into this episode for some reason.
I know, me too. I always think it's at the beginning of season 7.
Yeah, so I these two scenes, they thoroughly confused me at first. I'm like, are we looking into the past, right after the Red Wedding?
Yeah, it's so funny.
Why is this significant? And then when he pulled his face off, I was like, well, there were certain nuances of that actor that was Walder Frey, but he was saying things that were Starkish, family.
Sir Patrick mentions in his feedback that the episode originally was supposed to start with the army of the dead coming through the ice mist, but that this actor portraying Walder Frey's performance was just so good as Arya imitating Walder Frey that they wanted to use that for the cold open, apparently.
Oh my God, that's badass.
Yeah.
Because it really was good.
And you can totally tell it's Arya. Yeah. So we see Walder Frey standing there, and I'm like, oh my God, as I realize it's Arya, I'm like, she has the technology, because she made this faceless man mask herself. You know what I mean? She killed Walder last season at the end of the episode, and she must have cut off his face himself and employ this magic, imbue the face with whatever faceless man magic takes place to allow you to imitate their voice and their body and all this crap, So whatever crazy tech is at play here, basically, Arya has the technology. So I thought that was really exciting. Just realizing that she, a girl truly is no one, basically, at this point. She has the skills of a faceless man.
Yes, she does.
It's amazing. So all the Freys are hanging out, and Walder, he slams the cup down on the table, and he's like, I bet you're wondering why I brought you all here. After all, we just had a feast.
And I'm frugal.
Yeah. And he's like, since when does old Walder give us 2 feasts in a single fortnight? And I was like, oh, this is totally Arya, because she's taking a jab at Walder's character here.
Yeah. Little tight pursed.
Yeah. So that's your first real clue that this is Arya, as she jabs at Walder, who probably wouldn't have self-deprecating humor. Think about the way he was talking about himself last episode with Jamie, right?
Jamie.
Yeah, exactly. So, so everybody laughs, and he's talking about how it's time for them all to celebrate together. And he's like, I've gathered every Frey who means a damn thing, so I could tell you my plans for this great house now that winter has come. And that could essentially be Arya talking. I've gathered you all to tell you my plans for your house, which is total elimination.
Total destruction.
Yeah, it's amazing. So he's like, first a toast, and no more of this Dornish horse piss. This is the finest Arbor gold. Proper wine for proper heroes. And it's like, oh my God, it's just so ridiculous. And then he says the house words, stand together.
Oh yes.
And everybody repeats.
Together.
Yeah. And all the Freys repeat it, and all start to drink as he lifts the cup to his lips, but doesn't actually drink. And this little wife next to him goes to take a drink, and he's like, not you.
Not you.
I'm not wasting the good wine on a damn woman. And it's like, the perfect thing for that Walder Frey would say, something like that, totally just sexist and horrible. But it's accomplishing Arya's mission at the same time by sparing the girl who she doesn't want to kill. She's innocent,
Of course.
So
She also needs, I think she spares all of the girls because the girls holding the wine aren't drinking it.
Right. Yeah. Good call. And it's just, yeah, I like that
She
a lot.
needs witnesses.
Yep. Yeah. So he pauses and doesn't drink, or she, I guess, Arya as Walder Frey. And then he continues to speak as everybody else begins to drink. And it starts to like, it's more of that uncharacteristic Walder talk where it's things that he wouldn't necessarily be saying, but it's not too off-putting.
Sure. Like not being the most pleasant man.
Yeah. He's like more self-deprecating stuff. Like he's like, maybe I'm not the most pleasant, I'll admit it, but I'm proud of you lot. You're my family. The men who helped me slaughter the Starks at the Red Wedding. And the crowd sort of like cheers a little bit.
Yeah, cheer you brave men, all of you.
Yeah, and at that moment I'm like, uh-oh. And it's about to transition to the bizarre as Arya is disgusted by the cheers in reaction to mentioning the Red Wedding.
And the look on Walder Frey's face, the actor that plays Walder Frey, his look of disgust is what made this scene so great.
So good. Yeah, this actor is fantastic in this scene. And so I'm like thinking at this time as she's invoking the Red Wedding. Isn't this the same room that the Red Wedding took place in?
Yes.
So
it would be.
What poetic justice?
Yeah, it would. I think it is.
Yeah, I think so. Right. So what poetic justice as Arya or as Walder Frey is meeting his end in the same room as he betrayed Robb Stark. That never even
occurred to me.
Yeah,
that makes this so much more impactful.
Full circle, right? The crime leading directly to the punishment. What goes around comes around.
And I love that she's checked that name and her revenge off the list. But I think I said this last episode. You have to be as a lover of Arya, you have to be concerned with how cold-hearted what a cold-hearted assassin she has become.
Right, like worried for her soul, basically, you could say.
Yeah, like keeping her in the realm of check, like not having her go all crazy, like Cersei crazy.
Right. If she attains the faceless men capabilities, but at the cost of her morality and soul, it would be somewhat of a Pyrrhic victory. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. It's like you want to root for her and no one's going to think that this is not a good situation for Arya to get revenge, but she's still a young girl, and it's pretty dark to wipe out an entire house. I mean,
yeah, she's achieved Tywin Lannister status at 9 years old.
Yeah,
pretty amazing. So this is when it really transitions into the bizarre, and she goes from complimenting the Freys to berating them. And it starts off, he's still encouraging them. Yes, yes, cheer. And he starts to mock them. Brave men, all of you. Butchered a woman pregnant with her babe. Cut the throat of a mother of 5. Slaughtered your guests after inviting them into your home. And I'm thinking, oh my God, your home, not our home. It's becoming more and more clear with the language that she's using.
And people are starting to cough.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You hear a couple small coughs around,
a couple moans.
As a first-time viewer, you're not even going to think about it. It's just people in the background.
Just people cough, especially Freys, the sickly Freys.
Yeah, exactly. But then it picks up a little bit as she kind of crescendos into.
Yeah, but you didn't slaughter every one of the Starks.
That was your mistake.
Yeah. You should have ripped them all
and stem.
And I'm thinking again, your mistake. You didn't slaughter every one of the Starks. Not us, not our mistakes. Yeah. We. And then now they're all choking and coughing and throwing up and spitting blood all over the place. And the camera cuts in real close to Walder's face. And he's intently watching as all of this is happening. Yeah. Leave one wolf alive and the sheep are never safe. And oh my God, that line was so good. So good.
I know.
I love that the
epic moment.
Yeah. How they keep using the animal imagery in terms of the sigils and the houses. So when she says leave one wolf alive, she's obviously saying leave one Stark alive, but it's just so cool, man.
Yes, absolutely.
The sheep are never safe. Oh man. So, wow, this guy,
And they
I
all
can't remember his name.
die.
Yeah, they're all keeling over and dying. And this actor, again, his performance as this with this close up as he's just like watching zealously as all these people are dying and everything. It's approaching Orphan Black territory, which it's a show where one character plays like 12 clones of herself, all with different characteristics and everything like that. And at some points, one of the clones will be like imitating another clone to get access to a facility or to like, for some purpose.
Weird.
And so it'll be like one character playing.
So it's like modern day Sybil.
I don't know. I'm not sure what that is, but they'll be
You don't
like,
know about Sybil? Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't think so.
It's like a story about a woman that she had a multiple personality disorder, but she had like 12 distinct personalities.
oh, all right. Yeah. It gets kind of similar.
It's like a story about her like psychosis essentially.
Nice. I'll have to
And
watch
using
it.
her personalities to manipulate people.
That's wild. Yeah. So in Orphan Black, there's a lot of scenes where like one clone with one very distinctive personality will be doing her best to impersonate another clone with a very different personality. And it's just like, it's really, really funny and well done. And Walder Frey
Nice.
like sort of nails it here, doing the same type of thing. Really good. So that was kind of cool. And then at this point, everybody's sort of collapsed and died and just splayed out all over the tables that are filling this banquet area. And the camera cuts to the side, looking past Arya down towards this girl, right? And it's Walder Frey standing there, but he reaches up to his face and begins to pull off his face revealing Arya Stark, and the little girl, like the wife, the little girl that's standing next to him.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she's like, what is
hell?
happening here? And then Arya turns to her, and this is one of the things that last episode reminded me of when Tyrion places his hand on Yezin's shoulder after Grey Worm slits those two guys' throats, and he's like, go back to the slaver cities and tell them what you saw, that type of thing. This is the same thing here with Arya talking to this girl, and she's like, when people ask you what happened here, tell them the North remembers. Tell them winter came for House Frey. Like, just legendary. Arya is a fucking badass, dude.
This
So
is
cool.
her G unit moment.
Yeah, totally. And there's shades of that when the Then Magnar sets Ollie free after sacking his whole village too, and tells him to go to fly to the crows and warn them, of what's happening.
Totally.
Similar type moment as well. So she gets up and starts walking down through the banquet hall amidst all these dead bodies, and she's smiling, and I'm like, oh my God, she pulled this off flawlessly. Like, God damn.
I know.
So many dead people. Every Frey worth a damn.
Damn.
House Frey is marked for death in the books as well, but in a very different manner.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
Yeah. So
as long as they're marked for death, that's always a good thing.
Totally. So yeah, love this cold open. Just great all around. Great to see Arya back in Westeros and handling business, and just taking out a huge amount of people.
Checking names off the list.
Yeah, she really has acquired quite a skill set, and it's really fun to see it employed, especially against such loathsome characters as Walder Frey, who we all just despise, love to hate him. Too bad he's gone.
Mashed up assholes.
Yeah, mashed up assholes. Yeah. Totally.
Oh my God. I will never forget that. Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's it for my number 5. How about your numero 4?
My number 4 is Ed Sheeran.
Nice. Me too. Well, kind of. Mine is Hands of Gold. More about the song, but yeah.
Okay, more about the song. Why don't we go through the song first? Because my number 4 is more about Arya interacting with Lannister soldiers.
Oh, sure. Cool. Yeah. So Ed Sheeran is just chilling there singing the song. And I didn't know it was Ed Sheeran when I was watching it. So I was just like, oh,
really?
Cool. Yeah. I just thought it was like, just some dude singing. And I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. Like, these guys are just hanging out, making
we were
the best
like,
of their time.
Damn, it's Ed Sheeran.
Yeah.
Sheeran.
And so he's singing this song about a man riding through the streets of the city, down from his hill on high, over the steps and the cobbles and the winding roads, and he's riding to a woman's side. A woman who is his secret treasure, his shame and his bliss, and a chain and a keep are nothing compared to a woman's kiss. For hands of gold are always cold, but a woman's hands are warm. And this is a song written about Tyrion when he was Hand of the King.
With all the horrors in his bed.
Yeah, with his secret whore Shay, hidden in King's Landing that he would visit. In the books, this song gets snuffed out before it goes public. There's a singer who tries to use it to get leverage to sing at Joffrey's funeral.
Oh.
And he meets his premature fate, we could say. He may end up being served up to flea bottom in bowls of brown.
Nice.
It's possible. But yeah, so it's cool to see the song surface in Game of Thrones. Somehow the song was written in this universe as well. And it's gone public at this point. So I just think it's a really like sad and beautiful song, just overall in general. And it's cool to see it make its way onto the show because it was one of the highlights from the book for me, for sure.
Nice.
Yeah, it's so Arya stops, and Maisie Williams is a big Ed Sheeran fan, right? So she'd been begging to try to get him on the show for a while, and they finally got him on the show. So she gets to go sit next to him and hang out for a little bit. He
got so much shit for being a Lannister soldier.
Oh yeah, people were mad that they brought Ed Sheeran onto the show too. I don't know. I thought that was kind of stupid. I thought it was fine. You know, not knowing who he was, it didn't seem problematic to me at all.
I didn't really care. I mean, like it didn't bother me. That I was surprised that people had that reaction.
Yeah, me too.
I didn't see what the big deal was. Like there's been other musicians that have made cameos in the show.
Yeah, quite a few.
I didn't see anything wrong with it.
Yeah, I thought it was good. And so he's doing his thing, and Arya sits down, or Arya says to him, "That's a pretty song. I've never heard it before." And the man says it's a new one because it was written so recently about Tyrion, and she's been gone from the city since.
Gone.
Yeah, so she wouldn't have heard it. But yeah, it's just a great song. I've heard a different version of it with a different melody that I recorded an a cappella version of. So I'll probably play that during the interlude for this.
Cool. I like it.
Yeah. So yeah, just a cool song. Good to see it on the show, and you can cover the rest of this if you want to.
Yeah, my number 4 was more her just interacting with Lannister soldiers because she has such a bad taste in her mouth about Lannisters.
Yeah.
And you can see her wearily looking around. I mean, obviously she's probably in a precarious situation. She's alone. While she's an accomplished assassin, she's outnumbered. I mean, she is on horseback, but if she were to get off, she's drastically outnumbered.
Oh yeah.
So they seemed warm, and welcoming, and
very much so, offering her food.
And she's like, "Oh, I don't want to steal them. We're offering though, it could be a cold night." And so she's weary. She ties her horse off by the tree. And
yeah, I think as she's approaching, she knows they're all Lannister soldiers, and she's planning to kill them all. She's sizing them all up, and she's just thinking how she's going to accomplish it, taking them all out.
I have that in my notes too, because it's the way she's like walking. It's like wearily, and it's very like cautious, but with a purpose. Mm-hmm. And the way she's scanning them.
Yep, scanning them.
And just kind of deciding where to sit. And the interaction really starts right off the bat, like, where are you headed? Are you headed south? And she tells them that she's going to King's Landing, and they're like, "Oh, fuck." Like,
yeah. This is interesting because we learn that Arya is not heading to Winterfell to see her family. She's going straight to business right off the bat. She wants to get rid of Cersei.
I don't think she knows that. Maybe she does. I don't think she necessarily knows that they're at Winterfell.
I bet she knows.
You think so?
Yeah, I think she's just business Arya at this point.
Yeah, she's going for her list that she's been reciting.
Yeah, all work and no play make Arya a dull girl.
Yeah. So we have a nice dialogue here, and they open up to her fairly quickly about, wanting to see the second man, the funny looking guy with the brandy or the blackberry wine, the maker of the blackberry wine.
Yeah, he's
like, I always wanted to go to King's Landing and see the Red Keep and see the Sept of Baelor and the Dragon Pit. He's like, but when I got there, the Red Keep was there. The Sept of Baelor was blown to hell, and the Dragon Pit is a damn ruin.
Yeah, and the other guy's like, and on top of it, the whole place just smells like shit and pig's blood. Like, if you like that, then it's your town, And she's noticing that their swords are all stacked over by, against this
unarmed.
Wood. Yeah, they're all unarmed.
And I noticed that too. I also noticed that there's like Lannister lion hilts on the swords.
Oh.
So it's another giveaway that they're Lannister men.
Yeah, definitely. Crimson capes too.
And I wanted to note about the Lannister armor. So we see here that they don't have the lions on the shoulders, I think, which we talked about last episode that Jaime's did. But when we fast forward to Euron Greyjoy in the Red Keep and the Iron Throne room, all the Lannister soldiers lining the aisleway have the lions on their shoulders.
Oh, maybe those are like high-ranking officers.
Yeah, like a ranking.
Yeah, makes sense.
I just made that note because these little foot soldiers coming to keep the peace with the Freys, whatever happened up at the twins.
Yep, they got the regular armor.
They got like the regular armor.
Not the distinguished lion heads.
Yeah. So,
but they're talking shit about King's Landing here, like talking about how the people would skin you for 2 coppers.
And she can kind of relate because she's been there before, she knows the type of people that are there because she did spend some time there.
Yeah. And so like that one guy's like, oh, it's the worst place in the world. And I'm like, yep, Arya agrees wholeheartedly.
Yep. And so they're like, so Arya, she's curious now. She's like, so what are you guys doing up here? Like, you're kind of a long way from home. And we discover that word has gotten out about the Freys.
Yeah.
And when they tell her that, they're up here to keep the peace because something crazy happened at the Freys, they pan in on Arya's face.
She's like, it just happens that I'm coming from the twins.
Yeah, but she's completely emotionless.
Yep.
Like, there's not even a flicker of like, oh, damn, I should be nervous. Like, she's confident.
Totally.
She's like, so they start sharing the food and they give her guest right, essentially.
Yeah, guest right.
I took it. Here's some food. We're going to offer you food. And I loved this young man. He goes, well, my mom always told me, if you're going to be nice to strangers, they'll be nice to you.
Yeah, always be kind to strangers. I love that too. That guy, like, she's planning on killing them, right, when she arrives here, and all of these things that are happening that are like making her not want to kill them. Like they're offering her guest right. They feel the same about King's Landing. They think the people are shit there, and that they're talking about being nice to strangers and strangers will be nice to you. And basically the god of death, the red god, is essentially the stranger of the 7. You know what I mean?
That's true.
So by saying like, be kind to the strangers and strangers will be kind to you, it sort of like applies to Arya being
kind to
like
the faceless men.
Yeah. She's like sort of like an ambassador of the stranger, you could say.
I like that.
And so if you're nice to Arya, maybe she'll be nice to you. So all these things are just happening that are making these Lannister soldiers be sympathetic to her, even though they're her enemies. Like also, she just killed the Freys, right? Yeah. So the fact that they're giving her guest right and offering her food and not showing any sign of betraying her, that sets them apart from the Freys. And it's like, well, you killed the Freys because they didn't observe guest right, essentially, right? But these people are, so that's another reason why it wouldn't be right to kill them in the way that it was right to kill the Freys.
Exactly. I so that harkens back to her family getting murdered at the Freys because they were offered guest right too. So it's like I would be like the Freys if I were to kill these people right now.
Yeah, and then so she's like, oh, she's feeling conflicted about it. Like there's so many reasons why she doesn't want to kill him now, right? So she starts looking for killable offenses, you know. She starts asking like, oh, I'm sure you guys have been through some stuff since you've been out here on your military journey. Yeah, like just looking for some irredeemable actions that they've committed or something.
Like talking about a murder or a rape or something that she can justify.
Yeah. I'm looking. That's why I was interpreting it as she's just like trying to find some ammo.
She's prying.
Yeah, any reason she can to kill all these people, you know.
And then. It's so cute because he's like, well, you know, not really. We're just, you know, we're basically just up here doing our thing. And it's been kind of boring. And he goes, the truth is,
we just want to go home.
Yeah. When we left home, we couldn't wait to get away. But now we've been gone a while. We can't wait to get home.
Yep. Kind of like Dany coming home later this episode.
Yeah. And Sansa echoes this a couple episodes ago about wanting to get the hell out of Winterfell and wishing that she could never leave now that she's older. We get it with Dany this episode coming home.
Great. Good call. Oh man. Yeah. Cause Sansa, what did she say? Like when I thought about things that I wanted and didn't think about the things that I had or something when she was still at Winterfell. Yeah. Good point.
Yeah. So, and then we discover that this guy, he just like wants to go back to his dad on their boat. And he's sad that his dad's alone. And it's like, damn, like these are actually like really nice people. Right. Like, how can you be Lannister soldiers? Like, you're supposed to be assholes.
Yeah. And one guy's wife just had a baby.
And it's like, oh, damn. And she's like, is it a boy or a girl? And he's like, do you think we get ravens out here?
Yeah. It's so funny. And the fact that she even asks shows that she's already forming connections with these people. If she was like really, really like wanting to stay disconnected and cold and killing them all, you know, like keep maintaining that attitude, she probably wouldn't be asking questions like this, right? And just the fact that these guys are out here fighting this war, but they just want to get home to their families. It kind of reminds her that she's out here fighting this war. She's going to King's Landing right now, heading south to fight Cersei, to kill her. And she's realizing now that she has a family at home waiting for her too. And maybe she should go home instead.
Exactly. And he goes, I have no idea, but I hope it's a girl. And she's like, why?
What?
Like, why would you want a girl? And
very
he goes,
uncommon attitude for Westeros.
Because, you know, the girls take care of the papas when they get old. The boys just go off to fight in other people's wars. I was like, oh, damn.
Yeah. Someone else's wars. Further confirmation that their hearts aren't in this, you know, that they aren't like guilty parties, malevolent forces in this war necessarily.
No, they're just following kind of what they were told to do.
Yeah,
they're nice people.
Yeah.
And the blackberry wine guy, he's like, are you old enough to drink? And Arya's like, yeah, I'm not, you know, probably.
Fuck it.
And she takes a big swig of it, and her face, you can tell it's really good, you know, and they all kind of chuckle, and he goes, it's blackberry wine. I made it myself. Oh man, I love blackberry wine.
I don't know if I've ever had it. It sounds delicious though. I love blackberries.
So I went to school in Oregon up in the Pacific Northwest, and they have the best blackberries in the summer.
Nice. Yeah. I got them growing around my house too. Raspberries and blackberries.
Yeah. Oh, damn. Nothing beats them in Oregon. They grow wild. It's like, I don't know. It's just the right amount of sun. It's just the right amount of cool and warm. They are so sweet. There's nothing like them. And I mean, I live in California. Like, we have great produce here.
Right.
And I cannot eat blackberries down here at all.
Damn.
I was totally spoiled. And so a lot of my friends would make blackberry wine, or, you know, sometimes like little pubs or little small breweries would make blackberry wine and
I
sell
gotta
it.
find some blackberry wine. Damn.
It's fucking good. It's really good. And she's like, damn, it's really good. And they finally ask her, well, why are you going down to King's Landing? Like, why would you want to go down there? Dude. And she takes another big swig, which I thought was funny because,
confidence builder.
She took a very small piece of, I don't know, what was it, like rodent or squirrel or something, and passes it. But she only takes one bite of the food and takes 2 swigs of the wine.
Very hound of her.
And she ponders for a second. And I wanted to know what you thought about this, because she goes, I'm going to kill the queen. Like, why would she say that?
Yeah.
To them?
Good question.
Like, and I love that they all start laughing and she kind of like laughs along with them. But I was curious, like,
yeah, first they all fall silent, you know? Like look amongst themselves a little bit. Yeah.
It's really awkward.
So good.
Yeah, so I love the first guy that starts cracking up the new father.
Oh, like, yeah.
His face is so funny. He's like, what the fuck? Yeah. Like, you're funny.
I thought all these guys were cast pretty well.
I do too.
Really sympathetic people.
Or Sheeran here.
Yeah, me too.
I thought he was good. I had no problem with him being in the scene. In fact, it was kind of a funny, like random, oh, hey, I know that guy. Yeah.
Oh man. So the thing about this line, right, is I'm going to kill the queen. That's a sort of like an uncomfortable truth, you know, that it's true.
I think Arya is going to kill Cersei in season 8. I think this is still going to ring true.
That would make sense. That would be really cool. But think about this. When she just killed the Freys, she started saying some uncomfortable truths right before she killed all the Freys as well. So it's entirely possible that after she said this and they all started laughing, a couple seconds later, she drew needle and like just started stabbing all of them to death or something like that.
Damn.
It's entirely possible that she still did kill all these guys, these poor fucks after this. What do you think?
I don't think so. I don't think so, but I can see where you're going with it. If she did, then I would be extremely concerned for her soul.
Yeah, totally. It's pretty bugged out though. Like, what's the point in saying that? And if you're like, that's like testing to see if anybody's going to react and draw, you know, and she's like ready to draw.
I think maybe that's why she let them go, because no one like took her seriously. And so she just was like, okay, if they would have stood up, then she would have killed them all. But it was almost like she flipped a coin.
She gave them the chance there to decide their own fate. Like, do you want to fight or do you want to? Very cool. I like that. That's cool.
Yeah, cool.
Because that's, you know, it's just, I always wonder, like, did she kill him? We'll have to keep an eye out in season 8 and see if we see any of those guys again.
Maybe Ed Sheeran will come back.
Yeah, and then in that case, we'll know, wow, she let him live. Interesting.
That'd be kind of cool. I doubt we'll see them, but...
Yeah, me too.
It'd be cool. So that is my number 4. Do you have anything else you want to add?
That pretty much covers that, I think, yeah.
Cool. Why don't we do your number 3 next, since we just did my number 4 and your number 4?
Alrighty, sounds good to me. My number 3 is Samwell Tarly.
Oh, Sam.
Yeah.
Are we talking the shit scenes or the dragon glass?
Let's see. Is he in your top 5 at all?
No, he's not in my top 5. So do you just want to cover all of Sam?
Sure.
Okay. I'm down with that.
Sounds cool. So what's the first thing that we see?
So the montage.
Oh yeah, the montage,
the
right?
Shit scene.
Oh my God, this is so funny, right? Scrape, drip, plop. Those are the best parts where he like starts to. Yeah, I love those ones. Man, how brutal, huh?
Ooh. Damn. Oh man.
It starts off like fairly tame with him just like collecting some piss pots and bedpans and stuff. And I'm like, oh man, as soon as I see that, I'm like, oh, we're in for a gross montage.
It just went on way too long.
Yeah.
I remember looking at Dave and I've been like, is this scene ever going to end? Because it's fucking gross.
It's hilarious. Like there's no reason for it. It's almost like how sometimes I'll just like do fucked up funny stuff, like weird random editing, like how at the end of the other episode, I was just like, I had us both going like, Arya. Yeah. You know, like this is that kind of thing like that, where these directors were just like, let's make some fucking gross montages. Yeah. Let's make a really gross montage.
It was probably all his like scenes that he took, you know, and they loved little bits of it and they just decided to put it all together.
Yeah. It's so funny. The food and barf, like first we're seeing like bedpans, then we're seeing like bowls of food, and then we're just like they're being interchanged so rapidly that you can't tell the difference anymore between the barf and the poo and the food.
Oh my God.
And like what do you eat and what came out of you, and it's just like
and Sam's looking at the food knowing that it's going to come out later in the bedpans.
Oh man, it's so
and
gnarly.
They're kind of served like out of the same looking dishes too.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
It's great. It's so funny.
Montage.
Yep.
I don't really want to spend too much time on this because it's fucking gross.
Yeah, that's it. We covered it. So
okay, cool.
during like that whole thing, he's seeing like this forbidden area in the Citadel library.
It's calling to his soul.
Yes, it is. It's calling out so much.
Come see me.
Exactly. And it's just amazing to me how quickly this whole plot line progresses at the Citadel here.
Very much.
Like, yeah, he's eyeing this area, and then he hears somebody coming, and he like goes and pretends to be looking at the books and pretends to be occupied as the maester approaches and goes in the locked area.
Nice.
So he kind of shuffles away, and next it cuts to him helping a maester perform an autopsy.
Ew, this is so gross.
And it's Maester Marwyn.
The drinker.
Yeah, this guy is potentially a really important character in the books.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's an interesting character who is a maester. And typically, traditionally, you know, the maesters frown upon magic, and they don't like the dragons, and they are very clinical and scientific. And they sort of
sterile.
Yeah, they disavow like religion and mysticism and stuff like that. Maester Marwyn is an exception to that rule. They call him Mage Marwyn because he spent a good amount of time traveling Essos and studying magic and stuff like that. So he's one of the few maesters in existence that spent the time to forge a link in his chain representing his study of magic. Most maesters never are able to complete that. I think it's a Valyrian steel link for magic or something.
I think I remember him vaguely in the books. Yes. I vaguely remember reading something about that, the magic chain.
Nice. Yeah. So he's a really cool character and is going to play an important role in the future of the books, I think. So we get to see some certain characteristics of him, familiar characteristics here in this scene. He's doing an autopsy on this dead guy. Right. And speaking of cocks, now we can add dead dicks to the list of type of dicks. That, you know, since you said, speaking of cocks, the other a couple episodes ago.
Dead, old, wrinkled cocks.
Yeah. So that's happening. And he's pulling out all these organs and passing them to Sam to weigh them. And all Sam is trying to do is get access to the locked off area. So he's like,
Archmaester.
Yeah, I was wondering if you'd considered my proposition. And he's like, I don't remember any propositions. Yeah. And he's asking for access to the restricted area, and he's such a clinical response from the maester, right? That area is reserved for maesters. Are you a maester?
No.
Right. That settles that, basically.
Here's his heart, by the way. I'm just going to flop it in
here
your
you
hands.
Go. Take this heart, please, and weigh it. So Sam brings up how he's seen the army of the dead with respect. You know, he's seen these horrible things.
Like, I should be doing, something to stop it.
Right. That's my purpose. That's why I've been sent here, is to learn what I need to know to stop this.
Weigh massive livers and clean out shit pots.
Yeah. And so he's like, nobody in the Citadel that I've talked to even believes me or believes that the White Walkers ever existed at all. It's like, he's like, I just need access to believe me, you got to believe me, please. Right? And so Marwyn is like, it's their job to doubt everything. That's what maesters do. They're skeptics. They're cynics. They don't believe in magic or any of that type of stuff. Like, Marwyn is all too familiar with this phenomenon with the maesters and their attitudes, right? But Marwyn, he can see something going on here. He's like, but from all the tales of the long night, it can't be pure fabrication.
Some of it has to be truth.
Yeah, too many similarities from too many unconnected sources. And in that respect, it's sort of like the tale of the flood, the great flood that's told of in in Christianity and
Noah's
indigenous
Ark
tribes down in the Aborigines and stuff. Everybody talks about the flood. So it seems that there was some type of flood at some point. So this is kind of like that. The White Walkers, too many similarities from all these unconnected sources. That points to some type of reality with this type of situation. So Sam's like, ooh, sources. Sources with information in the restricted area. And he's like, yeah,
Yep.
And I like Marwyn's logic here. He sort of applies Occam's razor. That's like the simplest solution is the best solution, right? And so Marwyn is thinking about the simplest explanation for this. He's like, the simplest explanation for your like total obsession with White Walkers is that you're telling the truth and you saw what you say you saw, right? So he's like, that's the thing that makes the most sense, basically. So Sam's like, oh my God, so you believe me? And he's like, I do. I believe you. Yeah, I do. But finish weighing that heart, right? And so he's still not going to let him in, unfortunately. But they go on to talk a little bit, and Sam's like, oh, that makes you the only person like in this whole, south of the north, basically, that believes what I'm telling you. And he's like, Marwyn's like, Maesters aren't like anybody. They're not like people from the north. They're not like people from the south. At the Citadel, we live for a different purpose. And he's like, we're the memory of the world, Samwell Tarly, which is kind of interesting, a way to look at it, right? The Citadel is like this massive brain and like this archive of the history and everything. And they're working to preserve it. And he's like, without us, men would be little better than dogs. And I thought that was an interesting line that didn't really ring true to the Mage Marwyn character for me. I thought this was more of a typical Maester style attitude where like the Maesters they kind of have this holier than thou way about them that I'm sure you've heard about that, right? Like the Maesters, thinking that they know more than people from different faiths or different like magic, like poo-pooing on magic. Maester Lewin, for instance, in season 1, saying that the White Walkers never existed type stuff. So yeah, I didn't think that line was totally true to the Marwyn character, but I could be wrong. I could see him saying that others felt that way though, that was like the attitude of the Maesters. But you can tell that that Mage is more open to the mystical side of things, as he is the only one that is willing to take Sam at his word. It shows that he has more of an open mind than some of the other Maesters or people at the Citadel in general. So I did like that, and getting to see Maester Marwyn and his sort of difference in attitude compared to the typical Maester.
Cool.
Yeah, totally.
I vaguely remember him from the books.
Yeah, he's mentioned a few times a little earlier on, but he shows up like way later, But he's skeptical of the Long Night, though, of the return of that, because he's saying basically, every
They've
winter that's ever
survived.
came has always ended. And and the wall has stood through it all. And I'm like, oh, here we are in episode 1 of season 7. Yeah, season 7, episode 1, foreshadowing the fall of the wall in episode 7 by mentioning it always standing,
Damn.
Yeah, so that was kind of cool. Good timing for that. Foreshadowing the fall of the wall.
And I like how he just like closes his book and looks at the corpse and he's like, be a good lad and clean this up. And Sam's like, seriously?
Yeah. And he just kind of stands there staring at the body, dead guy. Oh, brutal.
Yeah.
He's sort of doing like Arya style stuff, because that's like what she was doing at the House of Black and White.
Like working from within.
Yeah.
An inside job.
Yeah. So Sam does that, he deals with that situation, I'm assuming. But he creeps in to the sleeping Maester's chamber and steals a key, ring of keys that's sitting there. Dun, dun, dun. And I'm thinking, wow, like story is really moving quickly. Like 2 seasons ago, we would have learned that Sam wanted to go into the room, and then like a couple episodes later, he would get into the room. You know what I mean? In such a short span of time here, we learn that he wants to get into the locked area. He manages to steal the key and go in and steal a bunch of books. He's turning into quite a kleptomaniac. Samwell Tarly
is
stealing swords and books and like valuable, rare objects. He's like Neil Caffrey or something from White Collar. Good show, but he's like an art thief or something, like stealing museum pieces and stuff. Yeah. But the real reason, obviously, is he knows too much is at stake at this point, and he doesn't have any time to mess around.
He doesn't have a choice. He feels like he doesn't have a choice. Under different circumstances, he wouldn't have done it.
Right. He's just got to get in there. So next time we come back to him, and it's him chilling at a table with Gilly, and he's reading some of these old ancient books that he's gotten. And I liked this little interaction that they have right off the bat here. Gilly's like, "You really should sleep, Sam." And he's like, "The dead
I'll
don't."
sleep when I'm dead.
Yeah, it sort of subverts the trope of saying, "I'll sleep when I'm dead." He mentions the dead don't sleep, which which I loved. Referencing the undead army, of course, and also a really cool way of upturning that quote. So he's reading, and she brings a book over too and starts reading it. And Sam is flipping through the pages of this book, and one of the pages has a diagram of the cat's paw dagger on it.
I have that in my notes.
Yeah.
I said, is that the cat's paw dagger?
Totally is. So there's obviously some type of significance to this blade where it's like mentioned in books. There's got to be some type of like mythical, like legendary history to it or something like that.
And what the hell is Littlefinger doing with it?
Good question. Considering the next page relates to Dragonstone, it could be, and that the hilt of this
could it be Dark Sister, or what would take the place of Dark Sister in the show? Oh,
maybe that's an interesting option. I hadn't considered that. I do think that the dagger does take the place of Dark Sister on the show, but this could be a more like a direct reference to that. Interestingly, but considering that the hilt is made of dragon bone and that the next page of the book is about Dragonstone, maybe this dagger has some sort of connection with the Targaryen history and lineage.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, it makes me just kind of wondering about the history of this blade. So he turns the page to the map of Dragonstone and mentions that this is the place where the first Targaryens that invaded, he says, Westeros, built their stronghold. So after Dany the Dreamer, Dany's Targaryen of old, had a vision of Valyria falling, basically. She convinced her family and the lord of the Targaryen house, which was one of the weaker Valyrian houses, to flee Valyria to Westeros. And they landed at Dragonstone and built the castle there. And so a few generations later, that's where Aegon launched his conquest from, essentially. So it's cool. We're getting this hint that this dagger is important in history. We're getting some information about Dragonstone, which is where we're going to end up later in the episode. We get a little bit of history about it and learn its significance early on here. And it's what a beautiful castle too. Dragonstone is just amazing.
Totally.
Yeah. So here we get the most important piece of information about Dragonstone that we know of thus far, which is that it's basically built on top of a giant mountain of dragon glass, as Stannis had told Sam.
Which he points out. Yeah,
a couple seasons ago at Castle Black. And at the time, he just didn't recognize the significance of it, apparently. But he realizes how important that is now. He tells Gilly, we need to write to Jon immediately, right? And he grabs a quill and begins scribbling. And I'm like, yes, this is key. This is important, getting word. And we do see Jon takes it seriously, and they go south and begin mining at Dragonstone coming up. So it's cool. I love how receptive Dany is to Jon and his message as well. And just the way that develops is kind of cool. So our last scene with Sam cuts down to the quarantine cells in Old Town.
Oh, yeah.
At the Citadel. And Sam is moving along, picking up.
The friend zone.
Yeah. The quarantine zone's the friend zone. Yes.
The friend zone.
Yes. So Sam he's pushing a cart, picking up empty bowls of like food from these quarantine cells, basically. And there's one sitting on top of like the little window midway up the door that's open. And there's like a little surface there, platform, and the bowl is sitting there. So he walks over to it and begins to grab the bowl, and a scaly arm reaches out of the darkness and tries to grasp at him.
I remember jumping at that. Yeah, I was not expecting that at all.
Right. Big jump scare moment that got a lot of people for sure. So he jumps back and is terrified at this like grotesque arm sticking out with like big, huge patches of grayscale all over it. Now
it looks bad, and we know immediately who it is.
Yeah, we get the great silhouette and his very unique voice.
Yeah, I knew by his voice.
Mm-hmm. Has she come yet? And Sam's like, who? The Dragon Queen, Daenerys Stormborn. And Sam is just like,
I haven't heard anything.
So funny. Jorah is just so badass. And like he's asking, has she come yet to Westeros? Which is reminding us of what's about to happen in like next scene as Dany arrives, you know. So much fun. And so Jorah pulls his hand back in and we get the silhouette shot of the side of him. And you can see like the grayscale, like looks like on his face, even a little bit, like little bits of stuff around his eyes and everything. And it's just epic as we get the reveal that Jorah is in Westeros now at the Citadel seeking treatment.
Yeah.
So nuts, man.
He's made it to the Citadel.
Yeah, he got his pardon, so he's welcome back in Westeros. And yeah, it's going to be wild to see Sam go at that grayscale again.
Oh, I forgot about that.
I realized as I was watching this that I haven't seen season 7 since it aired.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Basically. So yeah, it's been a while for me for season 7, interestingly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, this is going to be fun then.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I love it. So really epic. And that finishes off all the Sam stuff for this episode, I believe.
Good old Samwell.
Anything else you want to add about Sam in general?
No, I am excited to see his role that he's going to play in season 8.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. He's got a lot of important stuff either to do or that he has. He's got the sword, the Valyrian steel blade Heartsbane. He's got key information. He's got knowledge about Jon and
being a Targaryen.
Yeah, which is going to be key next season as Jon learns the truth.
Oh, fuck. I can't wait till he finds out. Oh, my God.
I know. I'm like on pins and needles. It's
going to be
insane.
so legit.
He'll be so legit.
He's going to lose his mind.
Yeah. It's going to, oh, man. I hope it doesn't drive him and Dany apart from each other.
I don't think so. I mean, maybe like relationship wise, but it might bring them closer together in a weird way.
Maybe.
Not sexually. I mean, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, man.
We have incest on the show. I wouldn't put it past.
Right. They're like, deep down, we've always just had a thing for incest. Both of them.
We are Targaryens after all.
Right. Yeah. Hilarious.
I don't see that happening, but I think, I don't think there's going to be a certain awkwardness for a while, a little bit.
Yeah, quite possibly.
Although they're not like really in the wrong. They don't know.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. They just fell in love. What can they do? You know,
they're the same age, essentially. They're close in age. And how would she know that she's his aunt?
Yeah. Only by the dragons accepting him and letting them touch them, basically.
That's true. So that means Tyrion's related too, because he's touched a dragon as well.
Oh, yeah. That for sure. That means it definitively proven.
And we kind of discussed this last episode that Tyrion might be falling in love with Dany or,
yes,
trying to position himself to be the suitor for her.
That could put, and we saw him maneuver Dario out of the way. That could put Jon in a dangerous position. If Tyrion turns against Jon.
I don't think Tyrion will hurt Jon though.
I hope not.
I think he'll try to maybe like
sabotage
manipulate
him.
the situation a little bit, especially when they find out that they're related. But if Tyrion is really a Targaryen too, well, he's technically related to Dany as well. So you have all that.
Right.
They would be half siblings, half brother and sister.
Oh, how about this? We'll get a total reversal of Aegon the Conqueror. And instead of Aegon with his 2 sister wives, we'll have Dany with her 2 like husbands.
Yes, because women are ruling Westeros.
Yeah, so Dany will take both Jon and Tyrion as her cousin, uncle husbands. Yeah, or cousin, nephew husbands or whatever. Whatever they are.
Like reverse polygamy.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, damn.
That would make Tyrion would be her brother and Jon
half brother.
Yeah, and Jon would be her nephew. So her brother nephew husbands.
Oh damn, that's really weird.
Yeah, totally. It reminds me of that scene with Olenna where she's talking with Cersei.
It makes my head hurt.
Yeah, she's like,
you'll be his
grandmother's cousin's daughter's
sister.
Yeah, it's so brutal. And she's your sister, but also your husband's
Nephew?
brother. yeah, it's crazy. It's bugged out.
Nice.
So yeah, that's it for Samuel. How about we move on to your number 3?
My number 3 is the map that Cersei is drawing on the floor so she can stand on it.
Nice.
And claim it as her own.
I'm just going to say right now, I predict this is where Cersei will die.
Okay, so did you notice that we get a couple aerial shots and Cersei walks in? Okay, funny side note, the guy painting is the director who directed this episode.
Nice,
yes.
That's cool.
So he did a cameo, and
Love
goddamn,
stuff like
I wrote
that.
his name down, but I don't have my phone by me. So here, I'll grab my phone.
I got mine out too.
Okay.
Director Jeremy Podeswa.
Okay. Jeremy Podeswa. So Cersei walks in to look at her mural and she stands at the neck.
Yes, she does.
And then cue Jamie. And Jamie stands out by the fingers.
The fingers.
Could that be a foreshadow of him killing Cersei by strangulation?
Jamie's fingers going to Cersei's neck. Yeah, it's possible.
So I just found that they showed it a couple times.
Yeah, that's a big fan theory that's been going around for a while after this aired.
Really?
That was like a
And
huge
then
speculation.
there's another shot of Jamie standing on the neck. And oh fuck, I can't remember where Cersei was standing when maybe she wasn't even in that shot. So I thought that was kind of interesting too. Like, what if he gets like beheaded?
Oh man, that would suck.
Yeah. So we see Cersei without her children for the first time.
Yeah.
And she's crazy.
Yeah, she's so crazy.
She's very power struck at the moment.
Absolutely. And
she wants this dynasty. And he's like, for who?
Yeah.
Our fucking kids are dead. She's like, for us then. Like, it doesn't matter who it's for. I just want to have it all.
Yeah. And this is like madness. Jamie's like, what are you talking about? Like, you're losing your mind here.
And she goes, you've been quiet since you came home. Are you angry? He goes, no, I'm not angry. And she goes, are you afraid of me? And he like looks around. He's like, should I be afraid of you? Like that's a weird thing to ask.
Kill all of our enemies. Yeah, it is a really weird thing to ask. And what was your interpretation? He's not angry, he says. What do you think he is? What do you think he's feeling?
I think he's concerned.
Yeah, I think he's concerned. I also think he just is confused. He doesn't understand her anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, that vibe.
She's like
he's
not
like,
the
I don't
same
know.
person.
Like, should I be afraid of you? Like, I don't know what to think anymore. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah, she's totally a different person at this point. He's like, who are you? He's like that Alice in Wonderland. Who are you?
Who are you?
Who are you?
That's what I've written down. What was that? What's that character called?
I call him like the little puffy caterpillar.
Caterpillar. Yes.
The smoking caterpillar with the hookah.
Yeah.
That guy is cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so I thought that was just kind of funny.
Who are you?
Who are you? That's what Jamie is wondering about Cersei. Who is this bitch? Who are you?
So our wretched little brother has become the hand of the queen to Daenerys Stormworth.
She is pissed.
They're sailing for Westeros, mind you. The one that you set free, remember him? The one that murdered our father and our son. Yeah, he stands beside our enemies now and gives them counsel. And this has to be very concerning for them because he knows their inner workings. He's a Lannister.
Yeah, totally. And she is so mad about this too. She is pissed.
You know, like, where do you think they're going to land? And I love when Jamie says, he goes, Dragonstone. I love the way he says it. It always sticks with me.
He knows like immediately.
They have the deep water for the ships.
Yep,
the
deep water
castle
ports.
is vacant.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. Stannis left the castle unoccupied, so it's just sitting there empty, just for Dany to walk right up and take it back.
That's fucking crazy. How
Beautiful.
come no one else has taken this castle?
Good question. I mean, maybe he left like a skeleton army to like just a small group of people to keep the gates locked or something. I mean,
And
it's,
no one's there.
it's
I
on an
mean-
island, you know, so it's just kind of hard for the average person to go to.
To like go get.
I guess,
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
The Iron Islands and Dragonstone are going to be safe from the White Walkers.
Yeah. Yeah. Bear Island also by that
Oh,
logic.
and Bear Island. Yep.
Totally.
So Cersei's
Oh, and
standing
he
on
mentions, he also mentions that that's where Daenerys is born.
Oh,
you know,
yes,
so it's
that's where she
natural
was
for her to
born.
return there. And I'm like, yeah, Dany's coming home.
the map. She's going to Dragonstone.
So
She's out
sick.
of Marine.
Oh, man.
She goes enemies to the east. She starts walking to the south. Enemies to the south. Alaria
Yep.
Sand and her brood of bitches.
Yeah.
Highgarden to the west.
Olenna, the
That
old cunt. Another
She's
traitor.
like, we're fucking surrounded. And we have enemies to the north, too. Oh, by the way, the bastard of Winterfell is now king in the north.
Yeah, and that murdering whore Sansa stands beside him, and I loved like just how venomous she is here. That Ned Stark's bastard,
Yeah,
you know.
she has no filter anymore. She lost her tie to reality
Yeah,
when Tommen
exactly.
killed himself.
She's
She
completely
has-
unmoored now.
She's gone.
Yep, she's gone. It's fucked up. She's just a shell of
She's
the
going to be
former
on a
Cersei.
rampage. She's fucking crazy.
Yep, totally.
This is our first hint at that.
Mhm.
And I think it's just going to get worse and worse and worse.
It's gonna be awesome. Oh
And-
man, and she's so mad at Sansa too.
She's also cocky too. She's like, there's enemies everywhere. We're surrounded by traitors. But then she turns around and she's like, you know, like we don't really have much to worry about.
Jamie's like, she's like, you're in command of the army. Like, what do you want to do? How do we proceed? And I like this too. So earlier we got we got Jon saying winter is here to the Northern Lords, and then Jamie is saying winter is here now to Cersei. So it's interesting. It may be foreshadowing a connection with Jamie and the Starks. Could be showing how he turns.
A future alliance.
Yeah, turns.
Yeah, the
cloak
reason
and
why
runs.
I said she doesn't really like seem to have like a care is because she says, I'm the queen of the 7 kingdoms. And Jamie is like, 3.
Yeah, he's
at
like
best.
3. Yeah, like I don't think you fully understand
Like
how
you
much
just
danger
got
in
done
here.
like listing off all of our enemies and we're alone.
Yeah.
We're all by ourselves. We have no allies.
Yeah, and this is when she like brings up that like ridiculous dynasty talk.
It's like, what are you talking
Dynasty
about?
to
We
last
don't
1,000
have any
years.
spawn.
Yeah.
Like they're all dead.
Yeah, I shouldn't be laughing. It's so fucked up.
It is so fucked up, but it's almost comical, like how delusional she is.
Yeah, and we get to see just how callous she is too. And this is when Jamie, like, he's like, our children are dead. We're the last of us. He says we never talked about Tommen, and she just like shuts him down
Goes
entirely.
to drink.
Yeah, she grabs a drink and she's like, "There's nothing to say," and Jamie's like trying to like get real.
Make her feel
He's like,
something.
yeah, like our baby boy killed himself, and she's like starts talking shit. She's like, he betrayed me. He betrayed us
oh my
both.
God.
And Jamie kind of like he's sort of taken aback by this and like shakes his head a little and like retracts, like recoils a little.
Yeah.
And
'cause
she's
that's
like,
crazy talk.
yeah, she's like, should we spend the day, like all of our days mourning all of the dead, mother, father, all of our children? And I was just like, damn, she's as cold as ice,
The Ice Queen.
as cold as ice. Yeah. Makes sense if she joins up with the Night King. She really would be the
shit.
Ice Queen, huh? Personified.
He's found his mate. He's
Yeah.
going to drive a dragon glass shard through her heart.
Yeah. And talk about Cersei and Sansa parallels. She's like, I loved them. I did. But they're ashes now, and we're still flesh and blood. We're the last Lannisters, the last ones who
Basically,
count.
like, we have to be smart.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Sansa said to Jon
To
earlier. She's like,
Jon.
you need to be better than him. She's like, listen, I loved them. I loved Dad and I loved Robb, but they're dead,
smart.
you
They're
know,
dead.
and they made mistakes, she said. And so it's same thing here. I love them. I did, but the same thing from both of these, from Cersei and Sansa. And it's interesting too, because Jon said, oh, no, father said that anything that comes before the word but is horse shit, right? But in this cases, it's not. Like Sansa did love Robb and did love Ned, and Cersei did love their family. Which she says before, but. So it just shows that that's not true 100% of the time. That, you know, sometimes things before but are true, right?
Totally.
So this is when Jaime mentions that like they're not going to be able to survive without allies. And he's like, you saw what happened to Walder Frey and his family. Whoever killed them is no friend of ours, right? And I thought this was interesting because we see that word about the Freys, the mysterious destruction of House Frey is spread. And he's like, whoever killed them. So it seems like the girl who survived didn't rat out Arya or something. Like word has not spread.
I don't think she knew who he was.
Who she was, yeah. Because Arya did say you left one wolf alive. You know, one wolf alive.
I think she was probably really stunned and didn't
pick up on the
pick
symbolism.
up on the Stark reference at all. You know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think she did. How could you not, right? Because she knows what the Red Wedding is. She knows that Arya Stark is missing. But then again, Arya Stark is presumed dead, so it would be kind of weird for a girl to show up. A girl. So I just thought that was great. Jaime's like, whoever killed them is no friend of ours. And I was like, Arya, like, holy shit.
She's coming for you.
Yeah. And she is no friend of Cersei's. That's for sure. She's coming for you.
Lennox, I'm coming for you.
I'm coming for you, Lennox. Yeah. Mike Tyson. And, yeah, that was just kind of cool. He's like, we need allies, stronger, better allies. We can't win this war alone.
Yep.
And, Cersei's like, what? You think I listened to father for 40 years and learned nothing? And that's when I'm like, oh shit, she's bringing in the Greyjoys.
Oh, damn. Fucking Euron Greyjoy.
Yeah. Son of a bastard. Anything else you want to add for your number 3? Was that it?
No, I was my number 3. I'm just scanning the rest of my notes. I don't think I have anything else on this scene.
All right.
Your number 3. Have we gone over your number 3?
Yeah, we did my number 3 already.
Okay.
Oh, I forgot to mention as the scene starts out with Cersei here as she's standing on the map, the Rains of Castamere are playing.
Oh yes, they're always playing when Cersei's around.
Yeah. I was just thinking that it may be hinting that like this is like something about Cersei's demise in this case. I was thinking
the end of the Lannister house.
Yeah, something like that. And I think maybe it's going to happen on the map. Like Cersei's going to get killed here, where she thinks she's safe.
Jaime's going to strangle her on the neck.
Yes. Yeah, totally.
With one hand.
Yep. So my number 2 is the beginning of the Hound redemption arc.
Okay.
And the Hound facing up to his bad deeds and burying the past, what you could say.
Nice.
So it cuts to the Riverlands in the snow, and they're all riding along. It's Beric and Sandor and Thoros. And as ever, Sandor is a grumpy bastard, basically, right? Yeah. He's just really hard to get along with. And Thoros is like, why are you always in such a foul mood? And the Hound's like, experience, which I thought was hilarious.
He always has like those great like one-liners like that.
Totally.
Like, you know what kept you going? Hate.
Yeah, totally.
Why are you so foul? Experience.
Yeah, it's the best. So they spot the farmhouse in the distance, and immediately I'm like, oh my God, this is the farmhouse.
It's the house
where,
and they show that family, they show that father and daughter in the like previously on Game of Thrones.
Oh, they did? Yeah. When Arya and the Hound were drinking the soup and eating with them and everything like that.
Stealing his
silver and leaving him for dead, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's so fucked up. And so they're looking at the farmhouse, and Beric's like, this seems like a good place to spend the night. And Sandor, he's like, these people don't want us here, you know? And I was just thinking, oh, he doesn't want to face the fact that they're dead because of him. Yeah, he's just trying to avoid going there because he knows that he's going to find out the truth. And he's just trying to claim that they shouldn't bother them instead, you know? But Beric points out the obvious truth of the situation. He's like,
nobody's there.
Yeah, it looks deserted. There's no livestock. There's no smoke coming from the chimney. And it's like, oh, the heartbreaking truth.
So the Hound knows that the truth is real, that they're dead.
He's like, fuck. And it becomes real. And Sandor's like, I don't like the look of it. He's just trying desperately to not go.
He's like, are you that afraid?
Yeah. And he's not. Oh yeah. It's so funny. Yeah. Yeah. He's like, you know what doesn't scare me? Bald cocksuckers like you. You're not fooling anybody with that top knot. Bald cunt.
Oh my God.
Gotta love the Hound.
That top knot.
Yeah.
You think you're fooling anyone with that top knot? Bald cunt.
Bald cunt. It's just like hilarious the way he says it.
So funny.
So good. And so Thoros is like, come on. Maybe they got some ale hidden away. And Sandor's like, they don't. Because he asked when he was there, right? He was like, what? No fucking ale? Like, what's wrong with you?
Nope, but he has some silver hidden from the bandits.
Yep.
Not anymore.
Yeah, so they come in through the door and Thoros goes to look. He goes to start making a fire. And the Hound sees the two dead skeletons, the little girl and the old guy. Yeah, so sad. And she's sitting on his lap, and you can see a dagger on the ground and like blood and everything. And Beric enters and sees the Hound and the way that he's looking at them.
Captain Obvious.
Yeah. Yeah. And he can like see how upset the Hound is about it. And I think he realizes that there's some sort of connection, right? And he asks how he thinks that it ended for them. And again, another good one-liner with death. Yeah. And Beric like lays out exactly what Sandor did not want to hear, that they were starving, it looks like, and that in order to, spare his daughter from pain, he killed them both with a knife as they huddled together in the corner there. And I think this like kills Sandor inside a little bit as he like has to go sit down, he's like, it doesn't matter now. Like I thought that was sort of a way of saying like, like now there's nothing he can do about it. And like as much as he wishes that he could, like now it doesn't matter. Like there's nothing that can be done. Sadly. So he sits down and starts eating, and he has an interesting interaction here with Beric where he's like, we've known each other a long time, right? Dondarrion. And Beric's like, yeah.
Like, why the fuck are you alive?
And yeah, Beric starts waxing about when for how long ago it was when they met. And he's like, he cuts him off. He's like, yeah, I always thought you were dull as dirt. And Beric looks over at Thoros and they share a glance, like kind of like, can you believe he talks to us like this? Like, oh my God, we're like friends, but he's just shitting all over us constantly. But it doesn't upset them. It's like they just have to laugh at how absurd it all is, right? So Beric's just like laughing, and we get as close to a compliment as Sandor's willing to dish out basically here. He's like, you're not bad though. He's like, I don't hate you, but I don't like you. But there's
not nothing
bad.
Special about you.
You're not bad. Yeah, there's nothing special about you. Then Beric's like, thanks, I guess. That really heartwarming. And this is where I realize where this conversation is going when he says, yeah, there's nothing special about you. And I realize he's trying to figure out why Beric keeps getting resurrected, and like, what the hell is the deal with that, right?
Do you think maybe that's hearkening back to your thought of the Hound being resurrected? Maybe he's trying to make sense of his resurrection?
Possibly, although I don't think that he thinks he's been resurrected.
Oh, that's right. You said that.
But I do think that the Hound trying to figure out why Beric is important and has been resurrected, I think that hints to my theory that Beric is going to be important for saving the Hound. I think that's his reason, that basically Beric is a placeholder for the Hound, that he's been resurrected repeatedly so that he can be alive. Like he says, the Lord of Light wants him alive. I think he just needs to be alive at the right moment.
He's going to play a crucial piece in the Hound's story in season 8.
He's just got to be alive at the right moment to either save the Hound or to pass his own life to Sandor to resurrect him, I think. Like breathing the flames into Sandor and extinguishing his own flame.
Oh, damn.
And dying in the process.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so that's my prediction of what's going to happen. Beric is going to give his life to resurrect Sandor.
We could very well see that. I could absolutely see that play out for sure.
Because this is the thing. Like, Sandor's like, there's nothing special about you. He's like, I could beat you 100 times in every fight, and why does the Lord of Light keep bringing you back? I've seen better men than you, like hanged from crossbeams, Ray, or beheaded Ned, or that just shat themselves to death in a field somewhere. And I'm like, damn, I don't know who he's talking about there, but that sounds horrible. You know?
All the other fuckers that he's probably killed.
Yeah. Although I do think he was referencing Ned Stark when he was like the honorable Ned Stark. Everybody knows a good man, Ned Stark, beheaded. So I thought that was a cool reference. It seems to indicate that Sandor, aside from his loyalty to Joffrey and being his dog and Baratheons or whatnot, he does seem to hold Ned in high regard. Truly. Which shows that at deep down, Sandor is probably good too, you know? So he's like, none of these good people came back. Why you? And Beric's like,
don't you think I ask myself that like every second of every day?
Exactly.
Like, I don't know why he's doing it.
What am I supposed to do? What am I like? What is the purpose? What is he seeing me? What am I supposed to do? And I'm like, damn, that's got to be like pressure, like trying to live up to this destiny that you seem to
understanding why you're being brought back so many times.
Exactly. And I think that it's going to hit him. He's going to understand why he's here. He's going to see his moment when he has to save Sandor or has to do something with Sandor, because we learn here that Sandor is very significant when it comes to the Lord of Light and their whole thing. Because as they're discussing all this, you know, Beric's like, I don't know what he wants from me. Sandor's like, well, if he's so all powerful, why doesn't he tell you what the fuck he wants? Right. And the next line, Thoros says, Clegane. And I'm like, oh shit, the Lord of Light wants Clegane. You know, that's what the script says. It's like, if he's so powerful, why doesn't he just tell you what he wants? And the next line is Clegane. It reminded me of when Aemon Targaryen is talking about how a Targaryen alone in the world is a horrible thing.
And then you cue Jon Snow.
Yeah, and Jon Snow walks right in. So it's a similar type of thing here. Why doesn't the Lord of Light say what he wants? And then, bam, mention of Clegane. So I'm like, dude, this is just signifying that
I love it.
He's going to be important, right? So
for sure,
Thoros is beckoning Sandor over to the fire, and I'm surprised that he goes over at all because he hates fire, and it's like
it's my fucking luck. I end up with a band of fire worshippers.
Yeah, it's so funny, and I'm like, yeah, it is lucky indeed, because they're like, one of these guys is going to keep
save
you
your
alive,
life, most likely,
right? And they're putting you on the path that you need to be on. They're like leading you in the direction that you need to be going in, right? Beric says, "I almost seems like divine justice," which I thought was funny. And he's like, there's no divine justice, you dumb cunt. If there was, you'd be dead and that girl would be alive. And I think that, sadly, he thinks that if there were divine justice, he himself would be dead as well, too.
Dead, yeah.
I imagine, which is sad, you know?
Sad, super sad.
So he's like, come on, the fire won't bite. I want to show you something. And the hound walks over and he's like, come on, get closer, man. Like, take a good look. And he's like, I don't want to look.
Do it.
And Thoros has a great point. Yeah, he's like, well, you want to know. You saw me bring him back from the dead. Don't you want to know what gave me the power to do that? And Sandor, he's like, I keep fucking asking, and nobody's willing to tell me. Right?
He's like, you have to look.
Yeah, you have to look. Only the fire can tell you, right? And I'm like, so cool. That's so epic. And the whole time, Thoros is just like gazing into the flames, sort of seeming like speaking like as if in a trance, almost mesmerized. And so Sandor approaches and looks in, and Thoros is like, what do you see? And he's like, fucking logs burning. Like, I don't see shit, dude. And Thoros is like, come on, just relax. Like, take a good, deeper look. Just
stop being stubborn and actually try to take a look into the flames.
Just look and don't think, basically. And Sandor starts looking, and his face starts to contort.
Holy shit.
And you can tell he's having a vision, and he's like, ice, wall of ice. The wall. And Beric seems shocked at this moment and looks over, surprised, it seems, that the hound is such a powerful conduit that he's being able to have visions. His first try looking into the fire, basically, after having avoided looking at fire for his whole life. Now he's learning that he has this monstrous power to see through the flames, basically. And I think that Beric's shock here as he sees Sandor being given a vision by the Lord of Light, I think it's foreshadowing his further and future realization that Sandor is a chosen person of the Lord of Light. Yeah, exactly. And that he's going to be there to protect Sandor.
What if Sandor Clegane is Azor Ahai?
That would be so cool, man. I love Sandor. I just want to see him redeem himself. I don't necessarily see him surviving. It may cost him his life, his redemption.
Sure.
But it's going to be crazy to see what happens with him for sure. He's such a monumental character. So Thoros is like, what else do you see? And he's like, it's the wall. It's where the wall meets the sea. There's a castle there. And right at that moment, the fire...
You know it's Eastwatch by the sea.
Yeah, we know it's Eastwatch. And right at that moment, the fire crackles and shoots out sparks.
And he backs away.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, I thought that foreshadowed the destruction of each Eastwatch by the sea. As we see the whole wall collapse into like blue flames.
Dragonfire.
Yeah, dragonfire and just bits of ice shooting in every direction. This spark of the fire at this moment, I thought like foreshadowed that destruction and that we see later on, which was kind of cool. But Sandor's like, there's a mountain, looks like an arrowhead. The dead are marching past, and I'm like, oh shit, this is that mountain that reminds me of Mount Kailash. Yeah,
like the kind of like very pointy, kind of rounded top mountain.
Yeah, it's
with
very
the lines
pointy top.
in it.
The line, yeah, and it looks like the horizontal lines. It looks just like Mount Kailash, which is the home of Shiva, apparently, and it's like the center of Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, and Taoism, I think.
Oh wow!
Big like religious landmark.
The mother of mountains.
Yeah, basically, no human has ever ascended Mount Kailash, and it's like crazy. Off limits. And there, people say that when you get close to it, your fingernails and hair start growing at like a rapid pace. Like there's like some crazy radiation coming from the mountain or something like that.
Oh my God.
And people speculate the top is covered in snow, but it looks like a pyramid. It looks like an artificially created pyramid. And it like the base of the mountain, it's all like scooped out all around it. Like it's like the whole site looks like artificially worked. It's really bizarre. But Sandor sees this mountain and the dead mounting past it, thousands of them. And I'm like, oh man, Sandor is seeing the truth here and seeing like the purpose and the mission, and he's being let in on like the big picture basically, and seeing his place as it's all unfolding. And he sees the same vision that Bran sees earlier in the episode, the army coming south, right? So I'm like, God damn, like this is crazy. And Beric at this point's like, do you believe me now, Clegane? Do you believe we're here for a reason? And I'm like, dude, Sandor is here for a reason. That is what we're going to see. It's going to be so intense. So good. So it cuts next to this scene with Sandor outside in the middle of the night, digging into the cold dirt to bury this poor father and daughter that he doomed to death so long ago at this very spot. Yeah. And I thought it was really cool because it's a couple things. It's showing him digging a grave is hinting to the book theory that he's a grave digger on the Quiet Isle, which is really cool. And also like, this is like, it's him punishing himself because it's like, it's so hard to dig in cold ground.
And he also feels guilty because I think they are a physical representation of the man he used to be.
Yeah, exactly. And so as he's burying them, it symbolizes him burying his past, burying the hound, you could say, and taking his first step on the hero's journey and his new path forward. So this is a very important moment for the character of the hound as he symbolically buries the past and steps into his shoes, his new purpose, which is really cool. But yeah, like I was saying, it's super hard to dig in frozen ground, right? So this is just like an extra little punishment that the hound has worked into this scenario for himself. But yeah, he's making amends and closing that bad chapter of his life as he's doing what he can to make up for a wrong that he's done by killing these people. He's giving them a proper burial and paying his respects, which sort of symbolizes making an effort to make up for the past, which is the direction that his life is going in general at this point.
Definitely.
So really cool. And Thoros comes out and he's like, what the hell are you doing, Clegane? And he's like burying the dead. And sadly lifts up the body of this child, this dead girl, and kneels and places her in the grave. And it's so sad. And Thoros realizes at this point that Sandor knew these people. Yeah. And he's like, I didn't really know him, but there was something, we can tell that they'd had met at least. And so Sandor picks up the other, like the body of the father, and puts him down in the hole as well, and starts shoveling the dirt down into the ground. And I love that
Thoros starts to help him.
Right. A gesture of solidarity and brotherhood, and unity, as the message that we got with Jon in the North earlier, as he steps up to help the Hound with his pursuit and has his back. And it's probably the first time that the Hound has ever had somebody like on his side like this, helping him do something. And like in a really personal moment between the two of them, connecting about something that's really emotional for Sandor. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And we even get, he tries to say the prayer that the old man said at the table.
Oh, that's the same prayer? Oh,
yeah,
man.
Yeah, we ask the Father to judge us with mercy. And then he goes, we ask the Mother, and he's like, fuck, I don't remember the rest. He's
really?
Like, I'm sorry you're dead. Like, you deserve better. So he was trying to say the prayer that the man said at the table.
Good catch. Yeah, I didn't remember that was the exact prayer, but yeah, it's so intense. Like we had seen Sandor trying to build the sept with the group of, with Ray and his crew. So we've seen him like reaching out to religion in trying to atone basically in a couple of different ways by trying to build the sept. Now he's trying to say these words and to do these customs of burying the dead. And he certainly ends up finding his way towards the Lord of Light in one way or another, right? The Seven may not speak back to him, but the Lord of Light shows him a vision in this episode. And even after meeting the Lord of Light again face to face here, he still is out there saying the words of the Seven, though, interestingly,
I do think, though, that
it could be for those people.
To do with the prayer that the man was saying out of respect for his religion, what he believed in.
Good call. So it's surprising to hear Sandor trying to say a prayer like this, but it's comforting to see him on a good path and trying to do good things, even if he can't remember all the words. The positive intent is there, which is really cemented.
And it's almost better coming from the heart, like when he says, I'm sorry you're dead, because you feel it more.
Right. He's not just saying something that he thinks he's supposed to say. He's really feeling the pain. He feels sorry. He knows that they deserved better, and he regrets the actions that he took. And this is a new beginning for Sandor. This is 100%. Closing the chapter of the Hound, and this is beginning his redemption arc really on a strong note. And so it's really a great moment as Sandor finishes and throws down the shovel and walks off. Just a really potent moment in his plotline. I liked it.
I love it.
Anything else you want to add about Sandor and this whole thing?
No, I think you covered it really well. It's a great scene for his story arc for sure.
Definitely. So what about you? What's your number 2?
So my number 2 was the cold open, which we covered. Yeah. So good. So I think we pretty much covered everything I wanted to say in that scene.
Nice. So how about your number 1?
Let's see. My number 1 is Dany is home.
Dragonstone. Yeah. Me too.
I have said, and I know a lot of people have said this, but I know I've said this on Game of Microphones a lot, that sometimes it's the scenes that have the most minimal dialogue. That have the most impact on the audience.
Yeah.
And this is one of those for me.
Definitely.
I remember watching the trailer and seeing her touch the dirt.
Oh.
And we didn't know at the time, we didn't know where she was. We knew that she's clearly like in Westeros somewhere. As a first time viewer, of the season 7, I had a feeling she was going to go to Dragonstone because that's where she was born, and it just kind of made poetic sense for her to be there.
Right.
So I know we'll get to her touching the sand, but that piece was in the trailer, and I just remember like every hair on my body stood up.
Oh man.
I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's such just an electric moment as she touches the ground and gets that connection with her home, and
it's like she's feeling the earth breathe beneath her. She's like taking in the breath of where she's from.
Right. For the first time, basically, since she was born, she had to flee immediately after birth, essentially.
And
we're hearing, like, as they're sailing up, we're hearing the happy dragon music, and the dragons are flying around Dragonstone.
Oh my God. And we get that image of Dragonstone wherever they shot. The dragons circling. Oh my God. Like,
I actually found out where they shot it. This bridge is a real bridge. It's at a place called San Juan de Gastalugache in Spain. There's like a little like monastery or something on this little island. Oh, and they superimposed the giant castle onto it. But that crazy bridge actually exists. I think it's actually a mishmash of a couple different locations.
Crazy.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly.
I love that bridge.
Yeah,
it seems
so
it would be hard to like attack that castle. Kind of reminded me of like the Bloody Gate in a way. It's like you can land on this beach, but you're gonna have to walk up like maybe 3 abreast, max 2 or 3. It seems pretty tight through there.
Super tight.
So that shot of the dragons flying over Dragonstone, knowing that it's the ancestral home of the Targaryens, that fleeing from Valyria, this is where they became.
So epically majestic.
Oh God, the amount of energy I feel in that moment when they're flying around, and you can see how big they are too.
Huge.
Like, they're huge. That's a huge castle.
Right.
I mean, you look at it, it's incredible. And we pull up to the beach and they focus in on her shoes, and she takes the first step into the ground. And you would think that would be a big moment, like that she would stop right there, like her first step on land, but she decides to walk away from the group. Yeah. And I love that the group that she's with
lets her go forth
stays
alone.
Back. Yeah. Tyrion being kind of like one to kind of talk nervously and just talk in general. Grey Worm kind of wants to like be there to protect her. Missandei's her right-hand woman, so she wants to kind of be up there, but they realize the importance that this means to Dany, and she needs to experience it by herself.
Definitely. And I think they've already sent like troops through here to clear the area type thing.
I'm sure.
Yeah, so it's like she's not in any immediate danger, and they know
she's not the first person to step on the Dragonstone.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I got that vibe too, just to make double sure that it is vacant all the way.
Definitely.
And we get that she's walking from the sun down into the shade, and she bends down and she like sets her hand on the wet sand. And that camera angle is just like a perfect image.
So good. Lifts up her palm and sees all the grit of the little bits of sand, and just like runs her fingers through her palm. Feels the grain of the sand.
Yeah, absolutely. The way she like looks at it and feels it in her fingers, and continues to like keep walking. It's such a poetic moment of her like feeling where she's from, feeling the history of her house.
So
and
good.
Her, oh God, there's so
just
much.
Immersing herself in it alone, like just a Targaryen on her Targaryen island, basically. It's just so cool.
With her 3 dragons flying around, it's like she's breathing life back into this place.
Yes.
And the earth is like breathing life into her.
Yes.
It's so symbiotic and beautiful. And
it's like she's where she's supposed to be. And she walks around the corner and sees that gate with those 2 huge dragon heads.
Massive dragon heads. And they open up and reveal this amazing bridge.
We see the bridge winding.
It kind of reminded me of like a serpent in a way.
Yeah, it makes sense. dragons, like Chinese dragons, are like twisting serpents.
That's
like
what
that.
I was kind of going for. It had that vibe.
Sick. I like that.
Yeah.
Remember when Jon Snow's walking up the bridge and the dragons like dive bomb him and the Tyrion he like jumps to the ground.
And Tyrion's like, I would say you get used to it, but you don't really ever get used to it.
Yeah. Classic moment.
Yeah. So they start walking up and they enter the throne room.
Yeah. Well, before they even get to the throne room, they walk through the doors and Dany sees a Baratheon banner
down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot
Such
about that.
Such a huge moment too. Like last episode, we saw the Bolton banners fall at Winterfell 2 episodes ago, and the Starks have finally reclaimed Winterfell. And now we're seeing Baratheon banners fall.
It's like the rightful houses have returned home.
Yeah, exactly. So we get the Starks getting Winterfell back. Now we get the Targaryens or the Targaryen getting Dragonstone back. Yeah.
Soon to be Targaryens because Jon arrives shortly. So there's technically 2 Targaryens there.
Beautiful.
At some point in season 7.
Maybe even 3 with Tyrion being there.
That's true. It may be plural right now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, exactly. So she pulls down that banner and then we go to the throne room.
What a chair.
Gorgeous.
It reminds me of the rock formation that we see behind her as she's touching the sand.
Yeah, I think that's what it was modeled to look like.
Probably like
that crazy angled rock
with all the lines.
So cool.
It's very
diagonal
and like hard.
Yeah.
Like there's a harshness to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really cool.
Very intimidating. And so when I first watched it, I wanted her to go sit in the chair.
I know, right? She's all about business though. That's like, how serious
she looks at it and she takes it in and she breathes it in. And Grey Worm goes to approach her and Missandei holds him back. It's like, no, like let her take this in. And
yes, such a great moment.
They're just watching in awe as this, young woman is seeing her ancestral home for the first time, and imagining her history there, her ancestors.
Yeah.
And then she sees I don't know what you call the room behind the throne, but
the map room, I think you could call it.
The map room. And
she bypasses the throne and walks over there. What does the symbolism of that mean? She's less intent on looking queenly and like more intent on acting.
I think that's not the chair that she wants. She wants the Iron Throne. So she's
True.
I mean, that's not her. So
this chair isn't even really that important.
It's important, but it doesn't hold the weight of her like sitting in it, like the very first thing she does. And I wanted to ask you, did you notice her hair?
I did not.
It's very, very tightly braided.
Nice.
So I've talked about this before on previous episodes.
Yep. More and more braids with victories, an homage to the Dothraki custom.
It's nice and tight now. It's pretty much it's all braided against her head with like a cascading ponytail, but it's all pulled back now in a braid.
Nice. I did notice that as she leaned down to touch the sand, there were 2 strands of hair winding around each other that looked like a DNA double helix, which is just so cool. Very artfully done.
Yeah, her hairstyle kind of gives me like rabbi vibes.
Rabbi vibe. Oh, with like the
tendrils
Orthodox
coming down
curls, those things.
Yes, the Orthodox, the curls that come down.
Right, that's funny. Yeah.
But the back is so tightly braided. There's like 4 or 5 braids, and then the braid wraps around like a few times of this super long blonde ponytail. So
sick.
It's not completely braided. I'm so excited to see what her hair looks like in season 8. Because it's just gotten more and more and more braided. And I love that she keeps that heritage of her growth into becoming a woman through the Dothraki customs and traditions.
Totally. Next year, she's going to look like Coolio.
She's going to have them cornrows.
Just going to be all braided up. Yeah. Just pointing all different directions and shit.
Yeah. So she walks into the map room and she sees the table.
The table that Aegon carved.
Yeah. She runs her fingers along it and the dust.
Love that shot.
Oh, it's so beautiful. Mm-hmm. And Tyrion is kind of in awe. He's looking at this room. It's quite impressive. Yeah, it looks out to, there's no...
over the bay.
There's like no glass there. I mean, it's just open to the weather, it looks like.
Yeah, totally. It's beautiful. Stannis would often brood in here And Dany is obviously drawn to this room as well. And Tyrion is just fascinated by these frescoes or these reliefs of dragons all over the walls and everything. Yeah, he's just like, whoa, like this is nuts.
And then we get her silhouette in the window, yes, and Tyrion comes up to her side, and they're the only two that we can see. I'm sure maybe other people might be in the room, but it's just a shot of her and Tyrion. And
her hand.
A moment of silence. And she looks at him and she goes, "Shall we begin?"
Amazing.
And then the music hits and it's da 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 da. I love it. It's so amazing.
So good, right?
I love this. It's so impactful. And there's one piece of dialogue.
Yeah.
And it's so amazing. I love that they put it at the end.
Yeah. Shall we begin at the end?
And then it's end scene.
Yep. It's like, shall we begin the new season? That's the way, like, shall we kick it off? We just kicked it off. Oh man. Yep. So good.
Oh, epic.
Love that.
Epic.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add about your number one, the Dragonstone scene?
I'm so glad she's back in Westeros.
Yeah. After all this time, and the Myronese knot has finally been untied, at least on the show, and we're getting some progress. Really exciting stuff.
Momentum is building, and boy, it does not disappoint.
Yes. Moves are being made. Chess pieces are moving along the table.
Absolutely.
So let's move on to notes.
What was your number one?
My number one was the same thing.
Oh, okay. Very cool.
Oh, yeah.
Notes.
So, yeah, notes. Starts off with Bran having his vision, right?
Yes. We get the wind blowing over the tundra and that dark cloud starts to form, and you can see like little pieces of like bodies coming in and out of the cloud. And that's why I said Sandor sees the same vision that Bran saw earlier, because Bran is seeing this army approaching, and then this is what Sandor seems to see through the fire. And there's 3 giants. Yeah, there's giants. Oh man. And Hodor's in there somewhere. Definitely. But it's so intense because we see these hulking figures riding through the mist, and you know that the White Walkers bring the cold, right? So it seems like they bring like this pea soup style mist. Like ice fog. Yeah, so you can't even see them coming. You just see fog coming, and then it envelops you, and then they come within it, which is even more terrifying. The white cold, they call it. Mm-hmm. Oh, man. Bone chilling. Yeah, totally. So all these, like the White Walkers are riding by, and the Whites are lumbering past, and then we see these giants, and the camera is like looking down from above at this one angle, and these giants are lumbering towards the camera, and it zooms right in on one of the giant's eyes, the bright blue undead eye of the giant. And I was just thinking, ooh, wasn't there a legend that like everything Macumber's exists? Blue eye. Yeah, Macumber's blue eye. Yeah, exactly. The dragons like lived inside of the eye of a giant or something like that. I don't know. I can't remember. But yeah, I thought that everybody cool. lived inside of the eye of a giant. Yeah, the whole planet is like inside of a giant's Old eye. Nan and Oberyn Martell talk about Macumber's eye. Right. Yeah. So I thought that was just kind of cool. We'd zoom in on this giant's eye. And then Bran is lying in his sled at Castle Black outside the gate at the bottom. And he opens his eyes as he comes out of this warging vision, having seen the Night King and the army riding south. And the door opens to Castle Black. The gate for the tunnel opens. And Dolorous Ed is standing there. I love this. He's like, you wildlings, he's like, who the fuck are you guys? And Mira Reed looks like real rough shape. She's exhausted. Oh yeah, big time. And she tells him, she's like, I'm Mira Reed, the daughter of Howland Reed, and this is Brandon Stark, son of Ned Stark, brother of Jon Snow, at least as far as I know thus far. Yeah. And Ed hilariously is like, how do I know that's true? And Bran kind of looks up and he's like, Robo Bran. Yeah. He's like, I'll tell you how you know it's true. He's like, I know everything about you and everything about everything. He's like, you were at the Fist of the First Men. You were at Hardhome. You've seen the Army of the Dead. You've seen the Night King. What the hell? Yeah. How do you know all this? Yeah. And Bran just kind of like drops the mic, and Ed is just blown away by the sheer volume of truth coming out of this kid's mouth, things he should not know. And he's just kind of like blown away by like this almost mystical
occurrence, right?
Mhm.
And so he's like,
Totally.
okay, come on in then, and brings him in. And I was like, damn, this is wild.
I love it.
Yeah. What do you got next?
Blackwater Bay, the ships
Euron's
sailing
fleet
in.
with a monstrous mothership.
Oh, damn. What a ship.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I love those two like wings, kind of the sails that protrude outwards to the sides. They're very cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And that big like kraken octopus on the very front, like the rammer, I guess.
Yeah, it's sort of designed like a trireme, like the Greek triremes, which would have rams at the waterline to sink enemy ships.
To sink the boats, their opposing boats.
But it's cool because it's a kraken, right? And then with those wings sticking out off the sides, they kind of remind me of like a couple arms of the kraken, like because krakens are like. Squid have 8 arms and then they have 2 other arms that are like different than all the rest, right? So those ones are like the kind of like symbolized by those sails, I think, sticking out.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, totally.
I love the kraken. It always reminds me of Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yes. Yeah.
Monstrous sea creature. There's a great rum called Kraken rum.
Yes, I've had it. Yeah, not bad at all.
I like it. It's good. I'm not really a big fan of rum. Right? It's really dark rum. It's sweet. But it's good. I mean, it's good for rum.
Yeah, definitely. And so
why is all the rum gone? Because I drank it. No, I'm just kidding.
I hope we get to see a kraken in season 8. That'd be epic.
Oh, and our spiders as big as hounds.
Yes.
Gotta see those too.
Totally. The BU students who wrote of their version of season 8 included a kraken in theirs. So
oh damn.
I'm hoping we get a kraken too. That'd be so cool.
Crazy. So Jaime's kind of like, you invited the Greyjoys to King's Landing. Like you honestly, like these are the worst allies you could ever ask for. They're like bitter, angry little people is what he calls them.
Yeah. And Cersei's like, well, I didn't invite all of them. And Jaime's like,
it looks like all of them. It's a lot of fucking ships out there.
Yeah, it was funny the way he said that. And it is. It's like a huge fleet. Tons and tons of ships out there. And wow, what a beautiful location that they're filming in. This stone structure that they're standing on.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Amazing. Great work finding that. Yeah.
I love it so much.
Looks like ready to roll. Ready for battle.
Maybe I'll cosplay as Cersei.
Nice. Yeah, do it.
Oh, no. I don't know about that. And so she goes, well, I invited them. You know, he's the new king of the Iron Islands. We need stronger and better allies. And Jaime's like, how are these any better than Walder Frey?
Right.
Like they both broke promises and they murdered their friends as soon as it suited them. And she goes, so does everyone when it suits them.
Yeah. And so's her mindset.
And it harkened back, just a slight echo back to Jon and what's his face? The bird warg, the wildling bird warg.
Oh, Orell.
Yeah, Orell.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So, you know, he says to Jon, like, people do this when it suits them. People do that when it suits them. People kill each other when it suits them. So it's kind of the same sentiment here.
Totally.
But unlike the Freys, who are fucking worthless, at least these worthless people have ships.
Yeah, that's the one plus side.
And she thinks they're good at killing, and he goes, they're not good at anything. They have to like steal stuff. They have to basically steal everything because they can't build it or grow it themselves because there's literally nothing on these islands.
This is true. The Ironborn, I don't like making generalizations about groups of people, you know, like that's what racism is basically. But the Ironborn as a people generally seem to kind of be scumbags. Raving and reaping
generally
and raping and yeah,
it's pretty bad.
Yeah,
it is pretty bad. Barbaric.
Yeah, definitely.
So basically
this is when Cersei drops the bomb on Jaime, right?
Like, I didn't have him come here for, you know, all of that anyways. And Jaime's like, well, why is he here? And she looks at him and she goes, a queen. And he's like, oh, fuck me.
Yeah, like this trifling ass hoe.
Yeah. Bitch.
Yeah, right. Like, I'm finally back, and now you're like talking about getting married again. Like, weren't you talking about you and me versus the world before?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
it's showing her psychoticness, like it's almost turning into like a manic behavior. She doesn't have a compass right now, or her compass is spinning out of control. Like she's going in every direction and Jamie's just trying to figure out where she stands.
Totally.
And she's not grieving.
Yeah.
She should be grieving. I mean,
that's pretty intense, huh?
She grieved with both of her other kids and she's not grieving with Tommen.
Yeah.
So she's got to take it out somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. So then it cuts to the Great Hall, to the throne room. And they got processions or like soldiers lined up on both sides, and Euron standing in the middle, meeting with Cersei, who's in the throne, and Jaime standing next to her. And they're talking about how he was chosen to be Lord of the Iron Islands. And then his niece and nephew turned on him. Their own uncle stole his best ships and ran. And I thought it was so funny. I feel
sorry for you, you fucking liar.
Yeah, he's like sailed right across the world and gave them to the Dragon Queen so she could bring her armies here to attack you. And Cersei's like, huh, right? But and I love this next line by Euron. He's like, it's nothing compared to the treason you suffered at the hands of family members, from what I hear. But it still bothers me, you know? Murdering them would make me feel a lot better. Which I thought was a pretty funny line. And he's like, he has a great point here. He's like, considering all of our treasonous family members are all fighting on the same side together, I thought it made sense we team up and slaughter them all together, right?
Why not? Sounds like a good idea.
Us rightful monarchs could team up here. And I was like, whoa, rightful monarchs, questioning Cersei's authority over Pike, asserting that he's a rightful monarch for the Iron Islands.
Yeah.
And that Cersei's
especially
not
right
the
after
queen
she said that she's the queen of the Seven Kingdoms.
Right. And he starts to take a step towards the Iron Throne, and Gregor just walks over, blocks him off.
And Euron's like, okay, I feel you, bro. Yeah. I got you. I'll step back.
Yeah, he looks up at Gregor, and Gregor just stares him down until he backs off, basically. And I was like, damn, that was a hilarious stare down. Eventually, Euron smiles and like laughs a bit and backs off, and Gregor just lumbers back to his position and like stands like a wooden soldier, like exactly like he had been beforehand.
Because he's being controlled by Qyburn.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like a robot.
And so Jaime is pissed now, because he's pissed anyway that somebody's coming for his sister that who he loves, right? But he's like, you're not a rightful monarch, though, are you? And I'm like, oh man, he already hates the Ironborn, as we know. But now this one wants to steal Cersei. He's fucking mad about this.
Well, it's kind of a, slap to the Lannisters, because the Greyjoys are not like a powerful house.
Right. You want to marry our queen? The queen is going to marry
a Greyjoy? Like of all of the houses.
Yeah, it's like Rob marrying a Frey. Like it's like something that you really don't want to do.
Yeah, it's like tarnishing your legitimacy.
Your good name. Yeah, totally. So plus the Greyjoys had attacked the Lannisters previously. He's like, come to mention it, weren't you the one that started the Greyjoy rebellion by sailing to Casterly Rock and burning all the Lannister fleet down?
He caught us there. Yeah. He really did.
And I'm like, oh snap. Yeah.
You vermin.
Yeah. Pretty smart move on your part. But we made it to the Iron Islands anyway. You didn't stop us from wreaking havoc on your whole house and slapping you back into place.
Nephews and...
Yeah. So this is the place where Thoros came through the breach as well with a flaming sword, right?
Drunk as fuck.
Yeah, drunk as fuck. So Euron talks about how he remembers seeing Jaime here, and like how he had heard so much talk, like the Blackfish was saying, like the best in the world, no one can stop him, a force of nature with a sword, right? And he's like, I didn't believe it, to be honest, but damn, when you came through that breach and started just slicing all these people down, it was glorious, man, like a dance. And Jaime's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Those were your family that I was killing.
He's like, fuck those people.
Yeah, he's like, the place was getting crowded. Hilarious line. Is like that sort of reminded me of Ramsay. I always enjoyed being an only child. I prefer being an only child. Similar type line by a scumbag, not valuing family. So the place was getting crowded, and he's like, I enjoyed watching you slaughter them. I truly did. And Jaime's like, well, I enjoyed killing Greyjoys, and I'll fucking kill you too, bro. Like, I would love it. Come on, just give me a reason, right? And Euron goes on to thank Jaime. He's like, well, if you hadn't crushed our rebellion, I never would have gone into exile. And if I hadn't gone into exile, I wouldn't be the greatest captain in the 14 seas. I thought that was cool. The 14 seas, doubling the 7 seas. And Cersei mentions how he's so humble as well, right? Hilariously.
It's like, well, you're not humble.
Yeah. And he's like, and you're the queen of a great nation. And like you probably don't give a shit about the Iron Islands, like nothing but rocks and bird shit. And hilariously, a lot of very unattractive people, he says, made me laugh.
Yeah, and, you included.
Yeah. And so he's like, but it's not the Ironborn that you're interested in anyway. It's the fleet, the greatest armada Westeros has ever seen. With our fleet, you can destroy all of your enemies in the east and the south and the north. And Cersei's like, well, what do you want for it? Basically, like, let's get down to brass tacks. That's it. It is what it's about. I want your fleet, right? So Euron says to her, this is very interesting. He says, ever since I was a little boy, I wanted to grow up and marry the most beautiful woman in the world. So here I am with 1,000 ships and 2 good hands. A jab at Jaime.
Puke scene.
Yeah, he jabs at Jaime with 2 good hands and raises his arms up like the Night King on the dock, like, come at me, Crow.
Jaime's so pissed. His face starts twitching.
Yeah, but I thought this was very interesting because he says, I was interested, since I was a little boy, I wanted to grow up and marry the most beautiful woman in the world. He never says it's Cersei. And the last time we saw him, he was telling Theon and Yara about how he wanted to marry Daenerys.
The Dragon Queen.
Right. So I feel like he's sort of pulling a Peter Baelish here where, remember, he's like, all my life, I've only ever loved one woman, your sister. Boom, as he pushes her through the hole.
Boom.
So Euron is like luring Cersei in here like, all my life, I've only ever wanted to marry the most beautiful woman in the world. And then at the last minute, he's like Daenerys Targaryen and like pushes her off of the fucking Red Keep or something, and hands over King's Landing to Dany. And I guess she like is about to storm the gates and he like walks out with the key and like Cersei's head.
Oh my God.
Right. He's totally pulling a Peter Baelish here. He's not talking about Dany. She's not as beautiful as
Cersei.
About Cersei. He's talking about the legendary beauty of the Dragon Queen. The younger, more beautiful queen from Cersei's prophecy.
It wasn't Marjorie, Cersei. It was Dany, you dumb bitch.
Yeah, maybe with the combined power of houses Lannister and Tyrell, they could have teamed up to take Targaryen, but nope, now it's just Dany who's coming to take everything she holds dear. So I thought this was great. It's like sort of a sleazy, slimy, total Baelish parallel. Come on, he's not talking about Cersei here, right?
Well, like you just said, they're both like slimy characters. Right. So it's perfect. It's a perfect parallel to draw.
Right. We get a parallel with Ramsay with his line about the house being too crowded and Ramsay being, like preferring being an only child. We get an allusion to Peter Baelish here. Like, all my life, I've only ever loved one woman type thing. So I really feel that Euron has no intention of being true to Cersei and just sees her as a stepping stone to Daenerys, sort of the way that she sees the throne at Dragonstone as a stepping stone to the Iron Throne.
She's like, I decline your proposal.
He's like, what? Why? Come on.
You're not trustworthy. You've broken promises, murdered people. You murdered your own brother. Why should I trust you?
He's like, yeah, good point.
You should try it. It feels great to murder your brother.
Yeah, she's like, I've been trying to murder Tyrion for years now.
He goes, I get you though. You don't want to trust me outright. I got to prove it. So here I go. I'm going to go get you a gift, a priceless gift. I won't return to King's Landing until I have that for you.
Right. And what is his gift? What is the gift that he gets her?
It was Ilaria sand.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, whether that was the gift he originally intended to get, probably not.
Who knows? Yeah, but it's a gift that he got.
It's a good gift.
One.
Yeah.
Totally.
Nice.
So he strolls on out of there.
That's it for my notes on that scene.
Same here. So next we're where? Winterfell with Brienne whooping on Podrick.
You're a lucky man.
Oh my God, that's so funny. Tormund walks up and Brienne is just shutting Podrick down at every combat advance. Just nope.
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 Nope. Nope. Nope. Nope.
Love that. And Tormund is just like, oh my God, there she is.
I love you.
And he walks up, and right as he's about to say something, the camera pans back and we're with Peter Baelish and Sansa. And I'm like, no, I wanted to see their interaction. I want to see what happens with Brienne and Tormund.
I love that
down there.
Sansa's like kind of shutting down Baelish.
Right? She's playing him hard. She's like, I'm wondering about what is her motivation here. I was thinking about it.
I think she wants him to leave, but she can't ask him to leave.
There's that. I think that she's playing hard to get and like making him think that that she like doesn't give a fuck basically. She's provoking him
kind of thing.
Yeah, she's not hiding her contempt. She's provoking him, trying to make him act out so that she can catch him and have him executed, I think.
Interesting.
She's luring him into action because he knows that if he puts stress on him, makes him think that his position, his vision is questionable, that he's going to take action to try to secure his vision of himself on the throne with her by his side, right? So if he thinks that somebody else is winning over Sansa in her mind and she's becoming more loyal to Jon or to Arya when she arrives, he's gonna try to mess that up and implant himself in her better graces.
She's waiting for the proverbial shoe to drop.
Right. So she knows that if she puts stress on him, that he's going to do something. So I think she's just setting him up here and biding her time. And she's shutting him down. And you're like,
I want you happy. I want you safe. She was like, dude, I am safe. I have Brienne. I'm at home. I'm surrounded by friends. And she kind of like looks at him like, I don't consider you a friend.
Yeah, she's like, what do you want? It's so funny. And he's like marveling at Brienne to begin with, right? She's like, I've heard she beat the Hound in single combat. She's a very impressive woman. And I'm like, yeah, she is.
And Peter's like, why aren't you happy right now? And she goes, well, at the moment, I just want some fucking peace and quiet.
Right.
Get the fuck out of here.
And I think
Brienne kind of sensed that. So she walks up the stairs and
saving
Lord Baelish goes to say something. She goes, no need to see is the last word, Lord Baelish. I'll assume it was something clever. And I'm like, yes. Oh, damn.
That's like a Queen of Thorns level burn right there, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, legendary burn.
I like how he says my lady in two different tones of voices, one to Brienne and one to Sansa.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, he goes to Brienne, he goes, my lady, and to Sansa, he goes, my lady.
Great. So he like bites his tongue there and doesn't say the last word as much as he wanted to.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
and Brienne's like, why the fuck is he still here? And she's like, dude, we need his men. He fucking won the battle. Like he won it for us.
He saved us. She says, wow. So she's giving him credit, but she's putting some stress on him. Yeah. He wants something.
And like, don't worry. I know exactly what he wants.
You know what he wants?
Brienne's like, interesting.
He wants that thing.
Oh my God.
That's what he wants.
Oh, craziness. Well, that's all the notes that I had.
Same here. So yeah, it's just interesting. I think Sansa is manipulating him at this point.
Yeah.
And she knows that she's got him partially wrapped around his finger, and she's just toying with him and seeing what she can do and what she can make him do. And like I said, I really think she's setting him up here, forcing him to make a move so that she can bust him, basically.
Bust a move.
Yeah, bust a move. And dude, so soon. Oh my God, so soon we're gonna.
I know it's been like 24 hours.
No, but I mean, like so soon, like we're gonna get Bran back at Winterfell. We're gonna have Arya back at Winterfell, and we're gonna have 4 members of House Stark all back together
within like just like a handful of episodes. It's
so
crazy,
exciting, man. And
they've
they're
been
all
separated from day one, and now they're all back together.
It's really, really exciting.
Season.
What an exciting season we have to look forward to as we continue through season 7 in our rewatch, approaching season 8, the final season of Game of Thrones. It's going to be great. Can't wait. All right, stick with us, guys, for a minute. We'll be right back after a short break. Coming soon. It's what you've wanted all along. You just didn't realize it. The epic moments. The shocking twists. The raging battles. Game of Thrones as never seen before. All the glory. All the beauty.
Whoa. Hey, Beavis, did you see that chick's boobs?
As seen through the eyes of Beavis and Butthead. Beavis and Butthead react. Game of Thrones.
Damn it, Beavis, don't make me kick your ass.
Ow! Ow! Damn it, Butthead.
This show sucks.
And we're back.
With Game of Thrones and history. From RuadButler.com, 10 Ways That Medieval Ireland Represents Game of Thrones by Ruad Butler. You want to start off?
Sure.
Cool.
Dublin, not California, is King's Landing. Ireland at the beginning of the Tudor period, much like Westeros and unlike the more unified England, was a mottle of lordships controlled by a small number of powerful landowners, each of whom had client families and brittle alliances with other clans. Rather than houses Stark, Lannister, and Martell, in Ireland we had the Kildare, Ormond, Clan Ricard, and Tyrone dynasties, among countless others. Each had their own sphere of influence. Sorry, I said spear.
That's pretty cool. Spear
Each
of
had
influence.
their own sphere of influence.
Wielder of the spear of influence.
I've been playing
That's
too
your
much
next
Final
title.
Fantasy lately.
Yeah, now you have your title for next episode too.
Oh, damn, you'll have to remind me.
The spear of influence.
Nice. I like that. Here, let me write it down before I forget it.
Wielder of the spear of influence.
Yes. Okay, I wrote it down.
Excellent.
Okay. Each had their own armies. Each jealously defended their borders against all outside influence. Some had even been kings before the Tudor reconquest of Ireland. For hundreds of years, these dynasties' relationship to Dublin was much like that of major houses in Westeros towards King's Landing, little more than a nominal recognition of overlordship. Dublin's power, like George R.R. Martin's city, was not simply because it was the major part and chief market. It was not even because of its daunting walls and impregnable castles sitting on a wide river. It was because it was the seat of government. In truth, however, the administration was little more than an enclave of English power, and they could not actually enforce any of their laws beyond a few miles from the city walls. In Westeros, the king really only had control over the crown lands, and in Ireland, the government could really only enforce its rule over the Pale.
Interesting.
Nice.
Yeah, really interesting. 2. The execution of Eddard Stark. The medieval government of Ireland was made up of an executive not unlike the small council on Game of Thrones, with a number of Pycelle-like churchmen and lowly English court officials attempting to make their fortune on this administration. The Duke of Wellington's paternal ancestors, Walter and Robert Colley, were two such officials from the Tudor period who could easily have been the basis for Littlefinger.
Nice.
In the absence of the king, the government of Ireland was run by a justiciar, later called Lord Deputy. This role was very much like that of the Hand of the King, played by Eddard Stark at the beginning of the first season. The office holders were once great landowners in their own right and frequently ignored or even outright disobeyed orders coming from England in order to govern Ireland as they saw fit. In 1463, the Earl of Desmond, Thomas Fitzgerald, was named Lord Deputy by the new Yorkist King Edward IV, a usurper very much in the nature of Robert Baratheon. Desmond had proved himself by defeating the Lancastrians at the Battle of Piltown, but despite his good governance, he fell out of favor with Edward IV because of his opposition to his suspect marriage to Elizabeth Woodville. If that sounds familiar to Eddard Stark's position with Cersei Lannister, you won't be shocked to hear that some sources suggest it was Elizabeth Woodville who brought about Desmond's downfall. Replaced as Lord Deputy by an Englishman, John Tiptoft, Desmond was accused...
That's a nice last name.
Tiptoft. Desmond was accused of treason, seized despite having sought sanctuary in a priory by the government. He was then summarily beheaded at Drogheda. Like Robb Stark did in Game of Thrones, Desmond's son Maurice raised his war banners and marched against the capital, only stopping short when Edward IV offered pardon in return for the laying down of arms.
Nice.
Did you hear that?
Ravens?
Sir Matthew of House Repp. Sandor burying the farmer and his daughter is a nice nod to his time as the gravedigger on the Quiet Isles in the book.
Gravedigger. Sorry, that's a total Monster Jam reference.
Yeah, gotta love the gravedigger. It's the coolest.
We love it.
I also love that Sandor can see visions in the flames. Much like Ygritte, you can say Sandor was, quote, kissed by fire as a young lad and it changed his destiny. Gregor putting him to the flame birthed the Hound, but this time with the Brotherhood, it's rebirthing him to serve his true purpose.
Nice.
Yeah, I like that. Maester Wolkin must be so relieved to not be serving Ramsay anymore.
Yes.
Yeah, totally. My thoughts exactly.
Nice.
I understand Jon's reasoning for not pushing the surviving Umbers and Karstarks and stripping them of their homes, but surely you can gift the Dreadfort to one of your loyal bannermen.
Perfect.
I
love
agree.
that solution. We didn't even think about the Dreadfort because the Boltons are gone.
Yeah, that house is gone. I suggested giving it to Tormund.
But I don't know if Tormund would necessarily want it. Do you know what I mean? Because he doesn't have the significance for it.
I don't know. I mean, if given the option, I think he'd be like, fuck yeah.
I'll take a castle.
Come on, guys, let's go hang out in this castle
for sure. But he already got sent up to the Eastwatch by the Sea.
Right. He has a mission, but under the right circumstances, I can see him
eventually.
That. Yeah,
maybe
right.
That's why it wasn't given out just yet.
Maybe that would be so cool, huh?
Yes, thanks for writing in, Sir Matthew.
Yeah,
we love your feedback.
You.
It's always super good.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we have Lady Lucy of House Jane. So, what can I say? I love the cold open. Girl, me too.
Oh, yeah.
I don't understand how Arya has Walder Frey's voice, but I'm just going to go with the magic and be happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some type of magical aspect behind it for sure.
Definitely.
Because they are all dead, which makes for a better Westeros. Also, love that she doesn't kill the girls and isn't indiscriminate in her hatred. Me too. I like that she spares the women for sure.
Definitely something that sets her apart.
It shows a little bit of control, which I know that I expressed a little bit of concern about where her soul is going.
Yep.
So she is still practicing control also with the Lannister army as well.
Yeah, maybe. We don't know. We could find out she slaughtered them all. But yeah, it does set her apart from the indiscriminate nature of killing of the God of Death and of Cersei Lannister, for instance.
Yeah, absolutely. She's kind of playing in a way the God of Death because she's choosing who lives and who dies.
Yeah, which no one has the power to do.
Exactly. So it may backfire on her. We shall see.
But if she's no one, then she has that power.
That's true. It's also confusing.
Yeah, I know, right?
I adore Euron digging at Jaime. Yeah, me too. It's super funny when he has the two good hands moment.
Yep.
It makes me laugh so much. Jaime is so mad.
Oh, yeah.
The shit scenes make me gag, and I hate that Sam is still locked away from so much knowledge that only the old fuckers can get to.
Yeah. Yep. Fuckers.
Totally.
Oh, yeah.
We are this world's memories is a beautiful line. I love that too, for sure.
Yep.
Tormund's love for Brienne is amazing.
I agree. I don't think he sees her as just this big beast to make babies with. I think he sees her as a god, a living goddess.
Yeah, he loves her. She's well, she is.
The
She's
epitome of humanhood,
Yeah. In his mind, for sure.
Yeah.
And many people's minds. I mean, I love her so much.
Yeah, she's great.
Sansa standing up to Littlefinger is so very refreshing. It makes me happy that the Brotherhood calls Sandor Clegane rather than the Hound.
Yeah, that's nice.
Oh yeah, that's a great point for sure.
Seeing him more than just a beast.
Yeah, as a person versus a dog.
Animal, yeah.
But the scene where he finds the dad and daughter dead breaks me. I'm sorry you're dead. is there ever a better thing to say when someone has died? Beautifully simple.
Agreed.
True statement.
Very nicely said.
I'm glad Dany has put some warm clothes on. She'd have caught her death wearing that flimsy dress she had on when they sailed from Marine. That's me channeling my Nana. Oh, that's cute.
Totally.
Does anyone else find it odd that there is no one on Dragonstone? I find it weird. Would no one have moved in? I would have chanced my arm and had a go at squatting for sure.
Oh, hell
that
yeah.
That bathroom would be bloody freezing with those huge windows. Yes, but also very refreshing on a summer day.
Totally. Getting a little spray from the seawater down there.
Sea spray.
Yeah, I like great feedback. Thank you.
Yes, thanks.
Yeah, it is kind of weird. Nobody has made an attempt to squat over there for sure.
I have to.
It's just hard to get to probably for the average person, I guess.
But like, which one of the houses have taken it? Although, what strategic advantage does it have other than White Walkers
it could just during a time of war, it would be, like all the wars that have been going on in the Seven Kingdoms, it would be like potentially an expenditure of resources that could be difficult to maintain for any of the houses.
Yeah, except it might become crucial in the war to come.
Yeah, I mean, it guards the entrance to Blackwater Bay, right? So cut off that entrance, and that's supply to King's Landing gone potentially for like at least ship-based supplies.
Well, Dany
made
like sure none of the supplies from Highgarden made it there. So
yeah, that's true. They got the gold though.
Got the gold.
Mm-hmm. Sir Patrick of Hindsight. Anyone who felt Ed Sheeran ruined this episode, shame on you for recognizing him.
Uh-oh. I recognized him.
I did not, so I've missed the shame here.
Shame.
Yeah, shame. The opening for this episode was originally going to be the shot of the marching army of the dead, but the Walder Frey actor gave such an impressive performance of Arya as Walder that they gave it to him instead.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love that
so
they
cool.
changed it.
It takes amazing skill to get the showrunners to throw away such a deftly embedded cold opening pun. Yeah, if we started with the White Walkers, it would have been a real cold open.
And it kind of worked because Arya talks about that winter came for House Frey, and then the next scene we actually see like winter approaching.
Yes, so cool. Yeah, I like that too.
It flowed well. It didn't
really
seem clunky to me at all.
Mm-hmm. Although having that cold opening would have been hilarious.
The cold opening.
Yeah, really cold. Ice cold opening.
Nice.
He continues, the quote, army of the dead, unquote, shot ends with the camera pointing us directly into the eye of a blue-eyed giant. I interpret this clear Macumber reference as the showrunner's way of beckoning us to ask ourselves, what am I unwilling to accept at this point?
Nice.
We transition from the giant's blue eye to a close-up of Bran's face. Was he watching the last scene with us? Is he wondering the same question I just posed? Mira relinquishes her role as mother of dragons. Dragons, like Baggins, spelled like Draggins, because she's always Dragging Bran. Dragging him around. That's hilarious. I like how quickly the good guys recognize each other now. Bran, the human cheat code, wins over Dolorous Eeyore with a sentence or two. Dolorous Eeyore. Eeyore Ed. That's great.
Yeah.
This is why Littlefinger's days are numbered. His ability to sow dissent is hard countered. His vast network of informers is paltry in comparison to, quote, 1,000 eyes and one.
I have a theory about Littlefinger, and I'm holding off for a couple episodes because I want to put it in at the right moment, but I'll just say that he may not necessarily be dead.
Yeah, it's true.
So
it's true. I'm looking forward to hearing your theory about that.
I'm looking forward to talking about it, but now is not the time.
That would be a fucking mind blower if Littlefinger had turned out to not be dead.
I've watched it enough. While I love the fact that in the moment we got revenge on Littlefinger and we watched him die, there's a part of me, I have a theory. I think he has connections in Bravos, and he gave that girl an iron coin because she whispers to him, your time is up. And then he hands her a coin.
Oh, fuck. I don't even remember that.
I think he flees Winterfell and a faceless man takes his place. And I think it's a faceless man that dies.
Sort of the way that Jaqen killed himself with the poison instead of Arya.
I don't think it's Littlefinger at all. I think he's gone. I think he's back in the Vale.
So yeah, we'll talk more about that when we talk about Littlefinger's death, I guess.
But yeah, so that's my theory though, of where I'm going with this. So
very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, we'll get to that. When she hands him the iron coin is when I want to talk about it, because it's a very quick scene.
Yeah, I missed that entirely. So
and the more I watch it, and the more I've read her lips,
some deep meaning.
It has a meaning because it's unnecessary. It's unnecessary.
Totally.
So yeah, you'll just have to listen on and find out.
Yeah, totally. I like Sir Patrick's reference here to 1,000 Eyes in One, which is the quote about the three-eyed raven from the books. How he has one eye and he sees with all these thousands of eyes of through the trees and through the ravens and everything.
Like the branches growing through one of his eyes, so he only has one eye.
Yep, he's got a root in there.
That's right.
So I like that because it's true. Littlefinger's spy network pales in comparison to the capabilities of being a three-eyed raven and seeing through time and space.
Nice.
Pretty excellent. He goes on, Jon, you think I'm Joffrey? Sansa, well, you literally declared I'm the king 5 seconds ago.
King.
What kind of, that was kind of a Joffrey meme, but no, you're as far from Joffrey as anyone I've ever met.
Oh, damn, that's a burn.
That's true. I never noticed Jon saying that before. Like anyone who has to say they're the king is no king, right?
That's right.
Jon, I see nothing ironic about that statement. I mean, it's not like he and I share a grandfather or anything. Oh
my God.
He's thinking if Jaime and Cersei are secret Targaryens, then they would share a grandfather.
Oh, yeah. Got it.
Hilarious.
You're so sneaky, Sir Patrick.
Yeah, totally. Does Sandor see his visions in the flames because he's, quote, kissed by fire?
Ooh.
Or is it an innate Clegane ability?
I think it's because he was kissed by fire.
Definitely. Cersei stands on the neck. Jaime comes in and stands next to the fingers. Valonqar, much?
Oh, there you go. I picked up on that too.
Refers to a book reference.
Nice.
Yes. Thanks, everybody, for your feedback.
Thanks for writing in, everybody.
All right. That's our show, episode 103. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yes, thank you guys so much.
And a huge thank you to John Bailey, the epic voice guy from the Emmy-nominated Honest Trailers, for announcing our show. If you'd like to donate or subscribe to support us, you can go to paypal.me/GOMPodcast or patreon.com/GOMPodcast to donate an amount of your choosing. There are links to both at gameofmicrophones.com.
Doing some online shopping? Go to gameofmicrophones.com and click on our link to Amazon. As an Amazon associate, we earn from qualifying purchases.
Any contribution you make helps, and you can help secure the continued existence of Game of Microphones. We'd like to thank our patrons, Sir Matthew of House Repp, Lady Lucy of House Roberts, Lady Candace of House Tews, Lady Teri of House Theodore, Lord Jeff of House Allen, Sirenicide, Lord John of House Grilz, and Luke, the Low Duke. Thank you guys so much for your support.
Yes, thank you guys so much. It's so awesome. We love you.
Yes. And make sure to check out Sirenicide, the serialized horror drama podcast featuring me and Archmaester Stitches. Go to sirenicide.com and download it wherever you get your podcasts.
I loved having Archmaester Stitches on last week.
Yeah,
it's always so nice to have him.
Definitely.
We also want to give a huge thanks to Lady Lisa of House Sky, Pyromancer. She has been monumental behind the scenes to work on getting our website, gameofmicrophones.com, up and running. She's also a fantastic artist. I'm not even kidding when I say that.
Yeah.
Like, no joke at all. So check out her amazingly illustrated children's book, The People You May See, available now on Amazon.com. It's also eligible for Amazon Prime.
Nice.
And I will say that Justin's pretty young to have a book like this, but he loves it. He pulls it every night for story time.
Nice. That's awesome.
And there's this really cute little boy that she sketched in the book, and he has a couple birthmarks on his face. And we've been telling Justin, because at first he said, oh, does he have a boo-boo? And, we talked to him and we read him the paragraph about this little boy, and we told Justin that he was, you know, those birthmarks make him unique and very handsome. So the other night, we turned to that page and he goes, "Oh, the little boy's so cute. He's unique and handsome."
Yeah, that's epic.
And I loved that it's already sticking with my 2.5-year-old, that these concepts that she's, exposing children to in her simple explanations. It's really an awesome concept. Any parents out there with young children should really check it out. It's amazing. I love it. You can check out all of her fine illustrations at fineartsbylisa.com. She's also on Instagram and Facebook.com/fineartsbylisa.
Next episode, we'll be covering Season 7, Episode 2, Stormborn. Yeah. Give it a watch and send us your thoughts. We'd love to read them on air. If you'd like to call, you can call us at 813-JOFFREY. That's 813-563-3739.
If you would like to write in, you can email us at ravens@gameofmicrophones.com.
Check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/GOMPodcast.
Imslap! Oh. You can also listen to Game of Microphones on YouTube, BitChute, and Steemit.
We're also on Twitter, Instagram, Gab, and Minds at GOMPodcast.
And we're on Tumblr too at Game of Microphones.
All right. That's our show.
Thanks for listening. You've been quiet since you came home. Are you angry with me?
No, not angry.
Are you afraid of me?
Should I be?
Daenerys Targaryen has chosen Tyrion to be her hand. Right now, they're sailing across the narrow sea, hoping to take back her father's throne. Our little brother, the one you love so much, the one you set free, the one who murdered our father and our firstborn son, now he stands beside our enemies and gives them counsel. He's out there somewhere at the head of an armada. Where will they land?
Dragonstone.
Damn the both of you, like you're relentless essentially. And I feel that same kind of vibe from little Lyanna Mormont.
Triple L.
Yeah.
She's the best.
Father used to say everything before the word but is horseshit.
That's 2 Ned quotes in one episode from John. Epic.
So he's certainly channeling his father.
Yeah, he is. It's great. He's in that mindset.
He's trying to be that person.
That Lord. Yeah. He's trying to, get in his dad's headspace to do the job he needs to do and be honorable. And
Sansa's like, fuck. We've been so consumed with the Night King, we forgot about Cersei.
Yeah, good point. We see Walder Frey standing there, and I'm like, oh my God, as I realize it's Arya, I'm like, she has the technology because she made this faceless man mask herself. Isn't this the same room that the Red Wedding took place in?
Yes.
So
it would be.
What poetic justice?
Yeah, it would. I think it is.
Yeah, I think so. Right. So what poetic justice as Arya or as Walder Frey is meeting his end in the same room as he betrayed Robb Stark.
That never even occurred to me.
Yeah,
that makes this so much more impactful.
Full circle, right? The crime leading directly to the punishment. What goes around comes around.
And I love that she's checked that name and her revenge off the list. But I think I said this last episode. You have to be, as a lover of Arya, you have to be concerned with how cold-hearted what a cold-hearted assassin she has become.
Right, like worried for her soul, basically, you could say.
It's pretty dark to wipe out an entire house. I mean,
yeah, she's achieved Tywin Lannister status at 9 years old.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing. Yeah, she really has acquired quite a skill set, and it's really fun to see it employed, especially against such loathsome characters as Walder Frey, who we all just despise, love to hate him. Too bad he's gone.
Mashed up assholes.
Yeah, mashed up assholes. Yeah. Totally.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh my God, this is so funny, right? Scrape, scrape, scrape. Drip, drip, drip. Plop. Those are the best parts where he like starts to. Yeah, I love those ones. Yeah, it's so funny. The food and barf. Like first we're seeing like bedpans, then we're seeing like bowls of food, and then we're just like they're being interchanged so rapidly that you can't tell the difference anymore between the barf and the poo and the food.
Oh my God.
And like what do you eat and what came out of you, and it's just like
And Sam's looking at the food knowing that it's going to come out later in the bedpans.
It's just amazing to me how quickly this whole plot line progresses at the Citadel here.
Very much.
Like, yeah, he's eyeing this area, and then he hears somebody coming, and he like goes and pretends to be looking at the books and pretends to be occupied as the maester approaches and goes in the locked area.
Nice.
But he's skeptical of the long night, though, of the return of that, because he's saying basically, you know, every
They've
winter
always
that's ever
survived.
came has always ended. And yeah, and the wall has stood through it all. And I'm like, oh, here we are in episode
You're gonna
1
eat your
of season
words.
7. Yeah, season 7, episode 1, foreshadowing the fall of the wall in episode 7 by mentioning it always standing, you know?
Damn.
Yeah, so that was kind of cool. Good timing for that.
Could it be Dark Sister, or what would take the place of Dark Sister in the show?
Oh, maybe that's an interesting option. I hadn't considered that. I do think that the dagger does take the place of Dark Sister on the show, but this could be a more like a direct reference to that. Interestingly, but considering that the hilt is made of dragon bone and that the next page of the book is about Dragonstone, maybe this dagger has some sort of connection with the Targaryen history and lineage.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, it makes me just kind of wondering about the history of this blade. And a scaly arm reaches out of the darkness and tries to grasp at him.
I remember jumping.
He's got knowledge about Jon and
being a
Targaryen. Yeah, which is going to be key next season as Jon learns the truth.
Oh, fuck. I can't wait till he finds out. Oh, my God.
I know. I'm like on pins and needles. It's
going to be
insane.
so legit.
It's going to be so legit.
He's going to lose his mind.
Yeah. It's going to, oh, man. I hope it doesn't drive him and Dany apart from each other.
I don't think so. I mean, maybe like relationship wise, but it might bring them closer together in a weird way.
Maybe.
Not sexually. I mean, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, man. He's like, who are you? He's like that Alice in Wonderland. Who are you?
Who are you?
Who are you?
That's what I've written down. What was that? What's that character called?
I call him like the little puffy caterpillar.
Caterpillar. Yes.
The smoking caterpillar with the hookah.
Yeah.
That guy is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she has no filter anymore. She lost her tie to reality when Tommy killed himself.
She's completely unmoored now.
She's gone.
Yep, she's gone. It's fucked up. She's just a shell of.
She's going to be on a rampage. She's fucking crazy.
Yep, totally.
This is our first hint at that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just going to get worse and worse and worse.
It's going to be awesome. Yeah, and this is when she like brings up that like ridiculous dynasty talk.
It's like, what are you talking
Dynasty
about? We
last
don't
1,000
have
years.
any spawn.
Yeah.
Like, they're all dead.
Yeah, I shouldn't be laughing. It's so fucked up.
He always has like those great like one-liners like that.
Totally.
Like, you know what kept you going? Hate.
Yeah, totally.
Why are you so foul? Experience.
Yeah, it's the best.
So the Hound knows that the truth is real, that they're dead.
He's just got to be alive at the right moment to either save the Hound or to pass his own life to Sandor to resurrect him, I think. Like breathing the flames into Sandor and extinguishing his own flame.
Oh, damn.
And dying in the process.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so that's my prediction of what's going to happen. Beric is going to give his life to resurrect Sandor.
We could very well see that. I could absolutely see that play out for sure.
And Sandor is like, he's like, he's like, Sandor's like, yeah,
it
it's
is
pretty bad.
I didn't have him come here for, all of that anyways. And Jamie's like, well, why is he here? And she looks at him and she goes, a queen. And he's like, oh, fuck me.
Yeah, like this trifling ass hoe. It started just slicing all these people down. It was glorious, man, like a dance. And Jamie's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Those were your family that I was killing.
He's like, fuck those people.
Yeah, he's like, the place was getting crowded. Hilarious line is like, that sort of reminded me of Ramsay. I always enjoyed being an only child. I prefer being an only child. All my life, I've only ever wanted to marry the most beautiful woman in the world. And then at the last minute, he's like Daenerys Targaryen and like pushes her off of the fucking Red Keep or something, and
damn.
hands over King's Landing to Dany. And I guess she like is about to storm the gates and he like walks out with the key and like Cersei's head.
Oh my God.
Right.